And welcome back. It is Friday night. Welcome back welcome back to another episode of The Average Boys. Jeez, I had that all twisted. I'm here. It's your boy Crispy, and I am here with my co-host, one of my good friends, the other voice of The Average Boys, Trigger. What is up, my dude?
What's going on, Deep?
How's it going, man? How's your week?
Pretty good, man. Still pretty stressful. We're still down at work, so kind of trying to get everything back on track. I'm actually going to go back to work tomorrow on Saturday. So I'm going to actually be pulling like a 7-day work week kind of, but it's just going to be like half days, Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, okay, so they have you guys going on the weekend because of all that the hacking incident, and you guys are probably having to do everything like paperwork and all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking nuts right now.
Awesome. Hey, what's up to everybody in the chat? Myers, Ozzy, what's up? Jamie, what's up, bro? How we doing, man?
Man,
we want to thank you guys for coming in. We got a pretty crazy episode today. A lot of crazy stuff has been going on in the Marvel world, dude. And you know what? Like I know what's up. Like a lot of people out there everybody's super invested in the WandaVision show. I know we were talking about it. We always kind of do like little snippets of it every now and then. Like we try to make it at the ending of the show. And the reason why is because the episodes come out super late at night. I think they get released at I think we saw ours last night, like at 2 a.m. So they get released pretty awkwardly late. So everybody usually gets the opportunity to watch them on Friday, but like most people, yo, what's up, Kyle? How's it going, man? Everybody gets the opportunity to go and they have to go to work on Fridays, and then they get home and then they're gonna watch the show, right? And then of course,
that's my ass. Like no shit. I try and watch the episode at like lunch, or if there's like a dead period, I'll try and watch it during my shift. And I think I saw like half of the episode at lunch. And then throughout the day, like when I got like a little bit more time and things started slowing down a little bit, I actually watched the rest of it. And when it happened, I was like, bro, what the fuck?
Dude, it was a crazy episode. We're not going to be talking spoilers. Right now, yeah, that's 12 a.m. in LA, right? Because we're in the future. So when anything bad happens, we let them know that it's going to happen 2 hours later. That's what I tell everybody when it comes to anytime I talk to someone in California, I'm like, it's me, Chris. I'm calling you from the future. And they're like, shut up, Chris, you're dumb. But it's very crazy. We don't want to talk spoilers today. So people in the comments, be respectful. Don't ruin anything for anybody. But what we are going to do is we're going to be talking about an important character that's throughout the Marvel universe. We put it in a discussion earlier. We put it on a post. We're going to be covering one badass, crazy villain, but super mysterious and very underused, except for recent comic books. And we're going to be talking about Mephisto. But of course, we have some other stuff that we want to talk about also that we've kind of come across in recent news that's going on with Marvel. I know one thing I wanted to share, and I haven't even been able to tell Trigger about this. So this will be news for you too, Trigger. I think you're going to have to look it up for me. The person that writes The Watchmen, the HBO show, has been picked up to be the writer for the Blade show, the Blade movie that's coming out. So it kind of makes you feel like
actually I did hear about that.
Yeah,
right before the show.
And that's really good. The HBO Watchmen series was pretty good when it came to the writing. It was more dramatic, I felt, for a DC film. But it did portray it. It's almost like the way they write American Gods. Like American Gods is a graphic novel. It's very well written in the sense of storying, but it has more writing to it rather than the action. And the cinematography is what sells, what does very good for Snyder's films, right? So when they brought in and they don't have an eye like Zack Snyder to make the Watchmen series, they need to make sure that the story is still very well earthed. And I think that's why they brought in this lady, because they're going to steer clear of the crazy, like, what was that guy's name from back in the day? The one that did Blade? Wesley Snipes. Like the Wesley Snipes Blade. Like, dude, that single-handedly almost saved the Marvel comic book realm back in the day.
It actually did.
Yeah, it did.
Blade, I think pulled in 183 million at the box office, like it's like opening weekend or something
Mhm.
like that, and like effectively saved Marvel Comics. And because of that, it gave investors confidence to make more Marvel movies post Blade.
And I
And
told
I think also that's why like Jon Favreau was like, all right, guys, so stick with me. Iron Man.
Oh yeah. And he was able to throw it at him and stuff like that. Kyle,
Yeah.
of course, jumping in. Oh, actually, not that one. Sorry, my bad. Here we go. How do you get too dramatic for DC? Well, that's the thing. Like, if you kind of consider the way, like,
Deceased was like the most overly dramatic,
overly dramatic
ever
series. So, like,
DC.
for Marvel itself, going into an over dramatic DC realm, you know what I mean? But the ideal was like it was so crazy because like back in the day when they made the Blade movies, like Wesley Snipes developed a fighting system to make Blade look like a complete badass. And it worked, lo and behold, dude, he did an amazing fucking job. He brought a whole dynamic to what Blade was in the comic books, because Blade was almost a spiritual successor to what Punisher was. Like he kind of just went around and just murked a bunch of vampires.
Yeah.
He even like drove up buildings with his motorcycle to fight Morbius, like Ghost Rider. He had a bunch of crazy shit that was going on. But like the Blade films with Wesley Snipes made it more grounded in the sense knowing that he was like a street level superhero, very similar to Daredevil and Iron Fist and the Defenders and all that stuff. The street level, not the flying through cosmic space Avengers style people, like the ones that just do street work. And he brought that to life, and he brought it to life in such a great way. Of course, like the comedy that ended up portraying itself like in part 3 and in part 2 was not as a serious tone as part 1, but it carried on fairly well. If it wasn't for part 3 Trinity, we would have never got what's his name? Ryan Reynolds, man, as Deadpool. We would have never got him as a Deadpool because the director, if I'm not mistaken, literally came up to him and told him, "You're born for this." And before that, Ryan Reynolds did not have any idea who Deadpool was. And then when he looked up the character, he was like, "I have to play this character." And lo and behold, they got it. They've had an eye for this for such a long time. And that's what I think that's crazy is, you know, the idea of Marvel doing a more dramatic series. It's a little weird to me. I think the most dramatic series that Marvel or film that it could have right now would possibly be the Winter Soldier film. Like in the sense of it being like the espionage, like James Bond, what's that, a Mission Impossible style films?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of like tradecraft, spycraft sort of shit, you know, like
yeah, of course,
I thought it was
but
but more on that, I think it was a good way to like highlight at the Black Widow character what she's capable of outside of just looking really pretty and throwing, you know, stupid kicks and like the most ridiculous jujitsu moves.
Well, like it's crazy because we have to remember too that like Captain America, Hawkeye,
Jason Bourne style is actually Kali. Like he uses Kali.
That's straight up. Like Jason Bourne style is a really, really good way to explain it. But it goes back to what we're saying, that these characters are street level characters. They're not cosmic characters. They're not space characters. So so Marvel itself has to develop these films individually for each character to give it its dynamic. And for Blade, it's very close to mixing like Doctor Strange's world of like sci-fi and horror into a Daredevil TV show.
Yeah.
So bringing in,
you know, and speaking of Morbius, dude, and not the Jared Leto one that
the original
that I'm gonna reference, but did you ever see the alternate ending for the first Blade movie?
Was it about Morpheus or no?
Yeah, it was about Morbius.
Like
they come out of like the little underground tower, and like Blade is looking, and the girl that he's with is like friend of yours, or like, do you know him? And like he like pulls his sword out, and he was like, nope. And you see a figure there, and he's in the sunlight, and like he's like cloaked in black, and he has like the Morbius, like mohawk, like long mohawk.
Oh shit!
And like he's like looking at him, and like it cuts back to Blade, and you see him move out of frame.
Fuck, I didn't know that, dude. I gotta
Yeah,
go
dude,
find
look
this
it up.
later.
Like, no shit, look it up on YouTube right now.
No, well, not right now. We're doing the show. I'll check that out later. But anybody in the comments, dude, by all means, go check that out. Let me know how that goes, because I'm definitely gonna watch that after the show. Like, I didn't know that. That's super cool. But then again, it's like we talk about, like, Marvel is very, very smart at putting things in shows that it know it's gonna reference later. Like, they're very, very articulate about it. So, like, man, they've been planning it ever since back then. So, like, it's super exciting to know about, because back then it was still Fox owned a lot of the properties. Marvel, of course, was doing their own stuff. But it did kind of, like, it's like I say, like, the Blade movies were very, very fantastic of its time. Like, and a lot of people always kind of do this thing where it's like, what's your favorite Marvel movie? Oh, well, mine is Spider-Man or blah blah blah. And I think Blade is very people kind of forget about it.
If I'm gonna
because
go
of how good it was.
yeah, dude. If I'm gonna go like pre-MCU, I'm gonna have to go with Blade Trinity.
Yeah, man.
Because like Blade Trinity was so fucking funny.
Well, that's what made it good, is because it almost had the flair of the newer movies.
Yeah,
like in the sense of its comedy,
dude, like the fight scenes, the cinematography, dude.
Yeah,
like
it was
the sword fight between him and Drake
Draco.
is just fucking fantastic, dude.
Yeah, it was or what was the bad guy's name? Draco?
Yeah,
Draco. Well, that's actually the Firestarter guy from League of Legends of Tomorrow, or right? From DC.
Yeah, he's fucking, I can't remember his actual villain.
I can't remember his name either. It's like
Firestarter.
But
he's a Flash villain. And well, he was also in like, I mean, the both of them, him and Captain Cold or whatever, they were both in fucking like the Prison Break.
Prison Break. Okay, what's up, Robert? Okay, so Robert just asked a pretty good question, and he puts, do you think they should have put the deleted scene from Endgame that would start WandaVision, but it was scratched out, and it makes more sense to the series if you guys have read about it? I'm not really familiar with the cutscene from WandaVision, but I know that in the recent episode, they did give some backstory to kind of what happens, and I know chronologically, I think they've given enough information to let us know that this is almost literally like right after Endgame. Like, this is literally dynamically right after Endgame. So like, I kind of feel like I wouldn't know how to say it, but I know when the series was first coming out, it was coming out very slow. These 30-minute episodes, and waiting 5 days for it to come out, 7 days, was kind of like, it didn't feel like the ends justified the means. But I do feel right now that it's justified. But I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I feel justified because we're here in our timeline right now in life. And it just so happens that since I'm already used to them taking 5 days and giving me 30 minutes, that's what I get and I'm okay with it. Or if I just think that when it all comes to an end, Marvel has actually masterfully found a way to put out a series by giving themselves enough of a time period to stretch out all the other films that are going to come out this year. To where, like, if we all remember pre-coronavirus, we were all supposed to be getting 3 Marvel films a year. And I think in 2020, when coronavirus hit, we didn't get any, or we got 1. I can't really remember.
No, I think up until WandaVision, I think all of 2020 was the only year that we hadn't gotten anything from Marvel.
Yeah, because and the thing is like right after Endgame, going into Phase 4, we were supposed to be getting 3 movies a year. That was the blueprint. So that was going to be a magnificent timeline for Marvel as a company to be putting that many films out in a year. That was already going to be hard for them. So now that they had to push things back because of the coronavirus and the pandemic and all that stuff, for them to be finishing that many films is almost inconceivable at the moment. I don't know if anybody got the opportunity to hear Tom Cruise ragging on his entire film team because some dude got sick. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, I actually heard the audio.
The audio.
Yeah.
And you know, in your mind, you're kind of like, dude, what a fucking asshole. But then in the aspect of it, he makes a good point. Like, they're giving us the opportunity to do this, and all we got to do is be safe. We can't be fucking around if we want this to work. Like, if you think about it, that's like every other business person that's out there that wants their business to be effective and to keep making money and to keep doing things and to keep doing what you love without having to struggle. Like, you're gonna have to cut the fat off of some things to make it work. And so, like, we have to remember that in films, there's like hundreds of thousands of people that are working on each film, and for them to use like a bare bones team puts a lot of weight on the people that are part of that team now.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So like, so for them to be trying to do 3 films, like here, okay, so I think everybody got pretty excited the other day when there were some pictures that were released of the Spider-Man movie that they're working on, and also,
then at the same time, with Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. It's very, very exciting to see those guys back to work, but at the same time, they're doing it during a pandemic. They're doing it during this time that's pretty rough. So we're hoping that they're able to stick to it. And I think us complaining is what we naturally do because we want it to be our way as a consumer. But we have to be a little bit more understanding towards these companies to get these on the go. So me waiting a week to see 30 minutes of WandaVision, I kind of don't mind because I know how hard it is for these companies to work. And to also, with what happened in the last episode, like for it to be kept better under wraps than the films were back in the day.
Yeah.
Cause like, yeah, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but like when Infinity Wars was coming out, people were talking spoilers weeks before it came out because someone on set released a bunch of shit. They literally had a huge reveal in the recent episode of WandaVision. No spoilers, guys. And it was, I literally teared up as a fanboy of Marvel seeing that happen on screen. There was people that were talking about it, that it was equivalent to the Luke Skywalker scene in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And of course, we all had our theories that someone might show up that had never been there. And lo and behold, someone did. And I was fucking floored, dude. I was floored. It was 2 a.m. at my house and I was screaming enough that the neighbors would probably think I was murdering myself. Like, I was so stupid excited. And the reason why is because of the floodgates it opens up for what movies are going to be coming out in Phase 4. Like, it's amazing, dude. It's amazing. But before we get too far into this, I really don't want to give anybody the opportunity to talk spoilers. What I want to do is I want to talk the kind of like the origin story of where the WandaVision story falls into place, and with the villain that it kind of originated around, and how I kind of casually feel like he may make an entrance. Speaking of Mephisto, but like Mephisto's always been like this weird character, Trigger.
He really has been. And, you know, he's one of those characters that came about in a very, very, like, delicate age.
Yeah, and you know what?
Because he premiered in a Silver Surfer story in the 60s.
And it's relatable. Like, that's how, that style, the thing that comic books dealt with back in the day is very similar to the whole, like, political correctness and censorship values that are being bestowed on things like that right now between the United States and, of course, like the way China does film, being that it's like one of the second biggest consumers in Marvel when it comes to filming. They have to kind of like watch that stuff. So, yeah. You know, let's break it down. Triggs, what do we know about Mephisto in the sense of who he is?
So Mephisto is a character that, like, people are always going to say, oh, super shrouded in mystery. No, he's actually been pretty fleshed out over the years. You know, he's had like a fucking almost 60-year, you know, history, because he like debuted in like 1963 in a Silver Surfer story. And back then, there was this thing called like the comics censor, like comics something authority. It was like the CCA or some shit like that, and they were the ones who would basically determine whether your content was like politically correct enough to be published. And well, people always associate Mephisto with Satan, or the devil, and rightfully so, because in his in his realm, he's omnipotent pretty much. It's only when he leaves and comes to the real world is he like essentially in a weakened state. But Mephisto is somebody who I guess you could kind of like, if you're gonna associate him with anyone pop culture related, he's kind of like Crowley.
Yeah,
and I say that because
exactly who I dedicated him to, which was literally Supernatural's Crowley.
Yeah, so like he's essentially Crowley. He was, he's kind of like a crossroads demon, except very, 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 very popular and very, very powerful. He's actually the one who gave Johnny Blaze his powers. He's the one who made Ghost Rider. Who makes Ghost Rider, and the Ghost Rider, or the Spirit of Vengeance, essentially works for Mephisto, and that's how Ghost Riders are made. And so people constantly associate him with the devil, which I completely understand. But since he's in a realm all of his own and has absolutely nothing to do with religion, that's kind of how they kind of like loopholed him into publications.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about his character, is that even though he may have a lot of
religious
similarities to
ties,
Satan,
he doesn't.
Yeah, he's really not the devil in Christianity or Judeo-Christian values. He's literally like this cosmic entity. And the thing is like, when you look at Galactus, or you look at the One Above All, or you look at what Chaos and Order, and you look at all these people that are outside like eternity, and death, because that's the thing, death is also a cosmic entity. He is right up there close to Dormammu. Actually, he's like an embodiment of Dormammu too, in a way, or something like that. They're all related in some way, but it's not having to do with the Christianized religious values of Satan, even though it's similar. And the reason why they did that was because of that comic authority. If they would have written him in as Satan or as a demon or as a devil, they would have canned his shit. They wouldn't have
published him, period, because essentially, kids would have been reading about Satan. And, like back in the 60s, that was not
that was major no-no.
That wasn't going to happen. And so
let's just say Harry Potter wouldn't work back then.
Yeah, no, not even a little bit. But, like with all that being said, one of Mephisto's biggest traits is that he'll give you exactly what you want for the price of your soul, right? But he's the kind of guy who, as soon as you get it, he takes it away from you. Like the moment that you have it, he takes it away somehow. Yeah. Like in the story with Johnny Blaze, he sells his soul to have his dad survive cancer. Sorry, to survive the jump that he had, and that next week he dies of cancer. You find out that he had like some sort of terminal cancer that they had never caught, and he fucking dies.
He's like, "Whoops, sorry."
And they're like, "Hey man, I gave you your dad back, dude. It ain't my fault that he fucking died of cancer." And so he was like, "Bro, what the fuck?" And so, hey man, well, your soul's mine, sucker. You see, like that bike, cuh.
It's really weird because, like, what year did he come out? He was like in the 70s, 80s?
63.
63, dude, even farther back. I think the reason we were just talking about this, we always kind of do like our pregame kind of discussions. And the reason why I think that he was never, because he's really never really been like this prominent character. He's always been this like go-to, I need a quick evil guy that's super strong to do some random shit that no one ever likes. Like, I need someone to take the fall for like a stupid bad reason, which would be like that Spider-Man One More Day kind of situation. Like, they just need a fall guy that needs to be like super evil. And Mephisto happens to be that guy all the time. But it's because if you think about it, like the real like devilish trickster would be Loki in the cosmic world. and Mephisto would be very similar to the way Loki is, minus the fact that he doesn't take souls, but being that he's just constantly tricking people to get his way. Because like the story of Mephisto trying to collect the Infinity Stones by using Thanos, and then hopefully for later getting his opportunity to take the entire power of the Infinity Stones after the gauntlet's made and after that, and then he doesn't get it because of everything that happens in the comic book that just goes against him. Like, because Thanos is a hell of a being that's super intelligent. He kind of sees past Mephisto's tricks. So like it doesn't really work. It doesn't go in that way. And that's the problem with Mephisto, is that even though he's this, I mean, through and through, he's kind of the devil. I mean, in recent terms, if I'm not mistaken, they recently kind of wrote an origin story where they actually make it to where he's actually a creation of Lilith during the time of Adam and Eve and Lilith and all this stuff. So there's this weird story of, there's this character named Lilith, and this is like even in our world, not just in comic books, where there's a theory like in certain religions that they believe that it was Adam that was created, and then God created this female character named Lilith, but she was more of like a demon-esque person. And then he banished her and then brought out Eve for Adam. And then Lilith comes out and kind of revolts against humanity and then starts creating all of these demons and devils and vampires and werewolves. Supernatural used it. If I'm not mistaken, it's probably, I think they're even talked about in some biblical stuff in Christianity where they talk about Lilith. But yeah, like they're in Marvel comic books, they ended up making this origin story where Lilith has Mephisto in hell, and Mephisto actually becomes the snake that intrigues Eve in eating the apple, kind of making right now in comic books Mephisto the devil. So like,
I mean, for all intents and purposes, yeah, Mephisto's the devil. You know, that's just the easiest way to put it.
It's just that there were things that they needed to get around to get him to that level in the old school days, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the easiest way to put it down. But you know what? I kind of prefer the idea of knowing that he is a cosmic entity than my mind telling me that he is the Satan of Judeo-Christian value. Like, I kind of like that more, because then that would give you kind of like a plateau in the sense of like, hey, you know what? Like when we talk about the Sky Fathers, oh, they know Mephisto. You talk about Dormammu, he knows Mephisto.
Do not at all quote me on this, but like Mephisto could kind of be considered like one of like the Hell Lords, because you have many aspects of hell.
Yeah.
You have Mephisto's realm. Then you kind of have like where Dormammu like resides.
Yep, the resides.
Then you have
hell.
You have Hell, you know, one of the realms of Asgard, you know, and Hela. And like there are versions of Hell. There are other versions, and then there's the one below all.
Yeah, the one that just got introduced in Immortal Hulk. Yeah, which kind of like the one below all isn't even kind of like hasn't never really been registered in
so
anything.
Ambiguous right now.
Yeah, but then you know what? If you break it down in that too, like the one above all is almost just as big as ambiguous as all of the other cosmic characters. Also, he kind of sits on a plateau above all the other cosmic entities and Sky Fathers and all that stuff. I kind of feel like that might be the way that they're using the one below all also.
That's kind of like what's being teased right now, and I'm kind of for it, because we've never had like an official like
God or devil.
This is what this is, and like you have a one below all or a one above all, and now you have a one below all, you know, like his immediate equal.
And it's cool because it kind of creates this balance of the good and evil aspect. I mean, even with the whole concept that's going on right now with Null, like coming in, you kind of like, well, they did just recently say that Dylan gets his power from the complete opposite of what Null is.
Yeah.
Which I think it's like, I want to say it's like Wrath or something like that. I can't remember who it was, but that you're actually saying that you get to a certain level of of God in the Marvel universe, and they have a complete other equal that stops them from just ruling everything. So like I think it's cool. Like it kind of gives this base in the idea of knowing that Mephisto, even though he's registered to human beings because of his actions and his look, that he would be recognized as like the Judeo-Christian idea of what Satan is. In our minds, I mean, even me on as a person, like I have this idea that Satan as the devil himself in religion would be like this super powerful being that can do anything he wants and doesn't really need anything else. Where Mephisto in the comic book still has a purpose. Like he still feeds on the whole entire, like the seven sins, and he likes to collect souls, and he likes to play games with people. Like he's his own character. He's not like this like overall arcing god of evil, right?
No, he's really not. He's just like an aspect of it. That's really all he is. You know, and so when you kind of get into like, you know, the nitty-gritty, you know, he's just another aspect of it. He's man, it's almost like he's just, when it comes to like magic and stuff like that, he kind of sits in the same little pantheon, relatable source of like evil magic and shit that like eternity would, kind of like how you had mentioned earlier, except it's their own little branch, you know, because like you look at the cosmic entities, these guys, you know, have cosmic awareness, you know, reality shaping abilities, blah 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 blah, because they're essentially aspects of, you know, space and time and some sort of reality in some shape or way, you know. And then you look at Mephisto's character, and you know, he's kind of like a hell lord, and you know, he rules from the shadows, sort of thing. And he's, like I said, he's just an aspect of many different, you know, aspects of hell. And so he kind of sits in his own little like, okay, like as far as like magic goes, he's kind of like one of those like essentials, because like he kind of brings a balance to all of that. And that's like, and I don't know why, but there's a lot more Mephisto coming around as of late in comic books when it comes to Marvel.
Yes,
I mean, you would see Mephisto every fucking decade or something like that, if that, in like comic books. I think I've seen him twice, maybe 3 times in the past 5 years.
Hey, check this out, man. Someone noticed something about your room. So did
I.
I
did.
Yeah, what's up, Edgar? How you doing, man? Yeah, so yeah, it's very interesting that you say that, because for a long while, it's like we were saying earlier, like I said earlier, Mephisto is kind of just used as this omnipresent evil that kind of does bad things to people and then like just kind of disappears, right? And even right now, with him being a talked about theorized idea that he's somehow involved with the Wanda show, the same way that the audience kind of knows about Mephisto right now in the series is very similar to the way it was back then. Because when Wanda did the whole thing with the children, it was actually done twice, if I'm not mistaken. One time it was done in like maybe the late 80s, early 90s. And then again, it was done right before the House of M, or right before Avengers Disassembled. Right? Which there was this dude that was claiming to be Mephisto on Earth, or claiming to be Mephisto himself, which was this really weird character called Master Pandemonium. Was that his name?
Yes, I remember him.
Dude, that guy was such a trip. He kind of had this idea where his body was imbued with demons, right? And like his hands would like change into like claws. He could make things happen. He could do like magic and sorcery. But what I kind of feel is that he was just he was doing what the Enlightened one did, or what was that chick's name? The old one, or what's the one from Doctor Strange? One? The ancient one, right? That he was kind of doing that, where like he was like a muse for the powers of Mephisto. And what he ended up doing was he ended up taking 2 chunks of Mephisto's soul and then brandishing and creating these two children out of nothing, and then giving them to Wanda, and then making it seem like she actually had children, right? Only for later on, for the real Mephisto to show up and be like, "Hey, what's up, dudes? I'm gonna take those back." And
they were aspects of his soul or some shit.
Yeah. And he literally, like, he just came in, he took the kids back, and he just bounced out. Like, there was no battle, like there was no fight for him, or no nothing. So what they ended up doing is they ended up doing an Illuminati special, and they were like, well, let's take Agnes, or what's her name? Agatha Harkness.
Agatha Harkness, yeah.
Let's take her. She's a cool friend with the Wanda and Pietro. She's been there as like kind of like a nanny to him. She helped Wanda kind of learn her magic a little bit more. She's actually a muse of what's his name, Mephisto also. And she ends up using some of her magical ability to get Wanda to forget the event overall happened, which Marvel has a tendency of doing when they fuck up a story so much that they don't want to give it a real ending.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? Everyone forgets. Everyone.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens in almost every story that's like that. Only for later on during the Avengers Disassembled, for Wanda Maximoff to, I guess, lift the forgetfulness curse and remember that she had children, even though she didn't really have children. Only for her to go against everybody and recreate the children again and do all this stuff. So, super crazy thing. So you know that she, again, brought the children back to life. But of course, the only way that that's going on is if they remove 2 chunks of the soul of the guy who loves to eat souls as a living. So if you take his soul, you know for fuck's sake that guy's not going to like you. But you intrigue him because you're like a person who can create souls.
Yeah, dude.
You're an infinite source of power for him. So there was a part of me that believed that Wanda's powers actually derived from Mephisto.
I think nowadays that that's been an aspect. Like she gets her powers from Mephisto, and like I think also at one point like they had retconned that like she also gets her, like she actually gets her powers from Sidorak or some shit like that. Thus like making her magic red.
Yeah.
And then but man, you know, like dude, Scarlet Witch is just one of those that they write so well and then they change it because they're like, oh man, no, it's not going to fit our narrative this time, so we have to change everything about her.
I mean, that kind of coincides with most writers when it comes to comic books. Like the moment you give someone the opportunity to write like an arc for a character, they always change something about it. Right? Like one moment it's Thor's hammer can only be lifted by someone who's worthy. And then the next moment it's lifted by anyone who happens to be worthy at that moment. Yeah. Or it's when the hammer decides to say, hey, you know what, today, fuck it. Like, I'm going to let some random dude pick me up because I just want to go on an adventure today. You're kind of like, wait a minute, the hammer can't do that on. But then again, it's who gets the opportunity to write the story, right? Because sometimes they just get the opportunity. And there are people like Bendis or Donny Cates, or what's the other guy that used to write?
I think he's going to come out in human form.
Shinless or something? Childless? Oh, yeah, here we go. Robert asked, do you guys think he's going to come out in human form or the devil form in the show, or how do you think he will look?
I think he's, if it is going to be Mephisto, and this is a big if, guys, remember, all we're doing is theorizing. All right. And with that being said, you know, and with that being said, if you're going to do something like that with him, then you want to give, since he's only going to be, you know, in the story for maybe an episode, if anything, a post-credit scene or like that finale scene of the show, then you're going to want to kind of make him kind of how like Peter Fonda was in
Constantine.
No, in
Constantine, dude.
Oh fuck no! In goddamn Ghost Rider.
Well, yeah, but just don't forget Constantine when they brought out Satan.
Oh
And he
yeah,
was like
no,
in a
well
white
that
suit.
too. But like Peter Fonda's character in
Oh, is
Ghost Rider
Mephisto?
was Mephisto.
Yeah.
But they didn't call him Mephisto, they called him Mephistopheles, like his proper name. The Mephisto is just short for Mephistopheles. And so like everyone's like, oh yeah, Mephisto. And I'm like, oh dude, that's cool. Like you got to keep in mind, guys, like like Ghost Rider and like that aspect of like comic books, I didn't really get into a whole lot. I thought Ghost Rider was kind of cool. Like I think to me so far, Ghost Rider's most impressive feat is that he single-handedly took down Galactus when he gave him the penance stare.
Oh yeah.
That is the height of Ghost Rider storytelling to me.
Yeah, Ghost Rider has always been this like it's like Morbius. I don't know why. It's like Shang-Chi, dude. We talk about this all the time.
Fuck Shang-Chi. No one cares about that.
Where like Marvel is now bringing out all of these random characters that actual comic book readers never give a shit about. Like we never gave two shits about Shang-Chi. Ghost Rider had a good fan base, but it wasn't a large fan base. Hence the reason why it was never in the forefront of selling comic books. Same thing with Moon Knight. It's nothing to shit on Moon Knight, but like it's the same thing with Moon Knight. There's not a lot of people who liked him either, but the fan base was super diehard about their characters, and we respect them for it. You know what I mean? But
I mean, yeah,
like,
it's true. Like if that's why, like, I'm not going to shit on like the Shang-Chi movie a whole lot, and the only reason being is because, dude, if you're gonna fucking like give me a good story and you're going to give me some good cinematography and stuff like that, you're going to give your heart and soul into it, and on top of that it's an MCU project, then you know what, bro, I will give you the fucking absolute benefit of the doubt that you will not fuck this movie up.
Marvel can do no wrong. You know what I mean? And an argument for a lot of these like people who kind of like I guess pride gate the idea of Marvel being like the best thing on the planet will be like, oh, well, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. No one knew who they were, and look at how successful the movie was.
That is
you answered almost the question entirely yourself. No one gave two shits about them either in the comic books.
Yeah, but like that's untrue to like a very, very, very small point.
Yeah, small
and
point.
Like I only say that because like they're not an Iron Man.
No, they're not. They never sold like the way that the other comic books
do. which is completely understandable. Completely understandable. But at the same time, to like not say that like, oh man, no one who knew who they were, wrong. It's very wrong.
It's one of those things like a lot of people
like the whole fucking Infinity Gauntlet crisis centralizes around a Guardian of the Galaxy.
Well, yeah, in a way, right? Because it deals more with, because Thanos was always that weird villain back in the day also. Yeah. Remember, like there was like those episodes where like he stole a copter and the cops arrested him, and like there was like some funny fucking comics of Thanos back in the day.
Like he like had like a actually arrested Thanos or some shit. Yeah, it was the stupidest shit ever, but whatever, man. I guess.
So we can't really say that the popularity of the time of the Guardians of the Galaxy was the success of those characters, because of course the X-Men were there, the Avengers were there, everyone was there that built that, and then of course the cosmic story surrounded around the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thanos, because Nebula and Gamora being family of Thanos, like there is a tight-knit story there. But I think that was because during that time they were exploring that cosmic world. So it's kind of very similar to the way the MCU is, but a lot of people that were connected to Guardians of the Galaxy of that time are more connected to the Guardians of the Galaxy of the future, which was Guardians of the Galaxy 2099 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which was literally Sylvester Stallone's character at the ending of the film of the last one, Guardians 2. Like they were more connected to that variation.
I think even like Lindsay Lohan or Miley Cyrus did the voice for another one. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like a lot of people that were fans of the space pirate variation of the comics of Guardians of the Galaxy were more fans of that variation rather than the gumshoe rank dank team of the one with Star-Lord and all this other stuff.
Yeah, the more well-known version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like completely understood, and you know what, like extremely understandable, because like, yeah, you're right. For the people who really, really concentrate on like, I guess, the spacefaring, the cosmic, aspect of like Marvel storytelling, I guarantee you knows who the Starjammers is.
Oh, dude, yeah, definitely.
You know who Corsair is. You know, you know who, like what their fucking backstory is. You know that Peter Quill is, the heir of Terrax.
Yep.
It's a lot of shit like that, and or Spartax. Sorry,
Spartax.
Terrax. Terrax was a fucking
his dad was Knives.
Yeah.
Last name.
But shit like that. Like you're gonna know these characters, because that's kind of like what you're into. And people who I guess focus on like the big hitters and stuff like that, like they understand like the Earth-based Avengers and stuff like that, and like who they are. And you don't read, and like, yeah, dude, it's kind of shitty that like no one reads comics outside of like the Avengers and stuff like that, or and like they follow the hype, and fucking rightfully so, dude. Like they sell fucking like hotcakes, dude.
Oh, dude, definitely. Like it's just one of those things. Like going back to the conversation.
Yeah, about, fucking, yeah, dude. Saul said it best, dude.
Yeah. You gotta know
the Starjammers.
Like it's one of those things, dude. Like I'm really excited for where Marvel's gonna go in Phase 4, because it looks like they're kind of like, hey man, this last 10 years, what we created. I mean, what are we gonna do to top that?
Yeah, and so actually,
like, we're gonna take the gloves off.
And that actually kind of hits on what Edgar's saying, with the two types of Marvel fans. And now we've stated this before. I've stated this on numerous occasions that yes, there is in fact two different types of Marvel fans. You have your MCU fans, and then you have your comic book fans. And sometimes these fans converge, and they have a nice little like peace offering. And that's not always the fucking case, because you have your MCU fans who are just very, very avid moviegoers, and then there are the comic book fans who really, 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 really care about the continuity, and rightfully so. I mean, I'm sure some of these people have been reading these comic books for 20 plus years. Myself and Chris being one of them. Mm-hmm. So continuity does play a very, very large part in how we go about liking a movie, or how we go about judging a movie at times.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like I got the weirdest boner for like all of these MCU movies, man. Like even with knowing the continuity from the comic books and some of it not following along.
And that's why, dude, because like they have like good cinematography. They, like their overall story fits the way that it would have in a comic if it had been written that way, and I still would have read it.
And it's so crazy because it does kind of casually follow the same rules as when they create a multiverse in the comic book,
which I'm so glad about, dude.
It follows the 616 in a way that's so close that there's only these small derivatives that are in that path that change it from the 616 from the comic book realm to what it is in the MCU. So like it's very crazy on my theory on what's going to happen in this thing is, first off, I'm going to break the mold right now. I'm going to call this out. Me and Trigger talked about it earlier, so Trig knows what I'm talking about when I say this. I personally think that in the multiverse of madness, the villain is going to be Mephisto, not Nightmare.
And I wholeheartedly agree with Chris.
Yeah, and a lot of people
were calling Nightmare from like the beginning, and at first I didn't want to believe that, because I was like, dude, Nightmare is so low key. He like, I know very little of Nightmare, and I know Marvel comics pretty well, and versus the way that I go and this is standalone, not based on the comics and the afterwards. Yeah, and that's how you have to go into the movies. That's really how you have to like be able to enjoy them properly, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But like on what I was saying earlier, Nightmare is just such a scarce character that like I never see him. I would have to do some hard research on Nightmare to like really put together like, oh, okay, now I could have seen how he could have been.
He plays a role,
a villain in WandaVision.
Like
Mephisto, to me, makes a lot more sense.
Well, I mean, dude, look, right now, as a matter of fact, like, if we end up breaking it down,
bro, your
my camera
video froze.
Yeah, it's just my camera. It's okay. If you break it down in the sense of Mephisto being a villain compared to Nightmare being a villain, there is an interesting concept in the sense of us saying, so if you've gotten up to episode 3 of WandaVision, you already know about the, I don't want to say a spoiler, but you already know the aspect of For the Children of what that's about. Like, you know where the story came to that, right?
Yeah.
What if they follow the comic book and at the end of this series, Mephisto shows up and says, hey man, thanks for the 2 kids, laters, bounces out, and WandaVision has a moment where it's like Age of Ultron when Quicksilver dies and she releases all her powers and it combines the multiverses that are established in the film works into one universe, creating the incursions before Battleworld.
I think Battleworld is a bit of a stretch, but I would love to see it.
But the incursion, remember when the incursion would happen, it was all red. Like the scenery was always red, which coincides with the way Wanda uses her powers and it being red. You'll understand that if you see the episode of What I Mean at the end, when everything turns red. There's a part where everything just turns red.
Yes, from 1 to 5, it is worth watching.
Yes, 1 to 5 is worth watching. Hell yeah, it is. Yeah. Especially right now, so you can see them all together.
With more female heroes coming to their own, do you think we will ever see female villains like Yellow Jacket, Nightshade, Lady Deathstrike? Well, Lady Deathstrike's already kind of made an appearance. She made her appearance in like the second X-Men movie. It is a very, very possible move, especially with Black Widow finally getting her own standalone movie, and Captain Marvel also having hers and her sequel coming up in Phase 4. So, I mean, it is a very, very strong possibility that, we're going to start seeing some heavy hitter. But
I mean, that's the crazy thing is like in this situation, you do not need a female villain.
No, for WandaVision, you really don't.
Way more than enough problems in the MCU.
And even then, like I would really have to say that Agnes or fucking whatever the goddamn Agnes is probably the smallest. Sorry, it's probably the closest thing that you're going to see to a female villain other than Dottie, maybe in a WandaVision.
Well, yeah, you can't forget either. They did have a Ghost in Ant-Man 2, who played a pretty prominent villain.
That's true.
She did very well also.
And I really hope that they do something with that character. I really hope that they bring her back or flesh out her like character and give her a proper end if they're going to, because they never did anything with it.
Yeah, they never did anything. But you see, like, that's the problem. Like I mean, not the problem, but that's the cool part is you have Wanda. They didn't flesh out in the whole 10 years or the last 5 years, if you want to get serious about it. In the last 5 years of the Avengers movies, they never really fleshed out what her powers were until the ending of Endgame, when she almost tore Thanos apart and he needed to do like a Hail Mary to get her to stop killing him, only to find out that now she's doing this in a believe it or not, in a television show. Like, she's busting out this type of power in a television show. This is the first time you get to see an Omega level character in film. And it's in a television show. Like, remember, like, how many times did you see like some crazy ass CG or some Omega level threat in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Never, dude. They use street level characters because they're throwaways. It's just like, oh, it's a TV show. We'll give them some little knick-knack characters we use in the cartoon.
Oh, dude, Graviton. I think Graviton was like probably the strongest character that they ever
shit on that character so fast, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they shit on that character so fast. I was so disappointed too because they used the guy that was Nathan Petrelli from Heroes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I was like, dude, how rad. I
Right?
love
Like
it.
he was perfect as Graviton. And for anyone who doesn't know who Graviton is, that guy is bodied on
Oh,
multiple
dude.
occasions, has bodied the Hulk.
Yeah, he's fucked the whole Avengers team up
Yeah.
multiple times. Like he literally controls gravity on the planet. Like he can tear the whole planet apart if he wanted to. And it just so happens that what's her face? Daisy. What's her code name? Quake. Yeah, she took his ass apart by injecting herself with the caterpillar or centipede.
I don't know. I stopped watching fucking Agents of Shield. I think after like I don't know season 3 or some shit.
If there's one thing that I loved about Agents of Shield was when they went into the Matrix, the program, when they introduced Hydra again.
Oh, dude, I heard that was a
Oh my
season.
God, dude, that series was amazing. My favorite thing, hands down, there was this one scene, and that's what makes comic books so amazing. When you know an arc is really amazing, is when it's always one panel that you'll never forget from one comic. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean.
Oh.
And there's one scene in Agents of Shield at the ending of this where the guy who created that program is sitting on a beach and he saved everybody and he's sacrificing and he's about to have a drink of his favorite whiskey or scotch, and he pours itself and he's like staring off into the sunset and he goes to drink it, and the next scene is the glass just falling because he disappeared, because he was dead in the real world. And the program is casually erasing itself. And like right before he drinks his favorite scotch while he saved her, like he finally like redeemed himself to be a normal, like a moral person. And then the fucking thing that he created like wipes him out. But it's so cinematically beautiful, dude. Cinematically beautiful. Like it'll tear you up. It'll tear you up, boy.
I think for me it was the when Hive finally died, and he died with in space with that other dude, and they're just talking,
dude, and they're just like casually like chatting with each other.
Yeah, like he knows that Hive truly won't die, but he knows that like they're a fucking miracle is gonna have to bring him back.
Yeah, they're gonna die. It was, dude, that was a beautiful scene because he's like, I didn't want to hurt anybody, and he's like, I know. Like he's like, I didn't want people to get hurt. I wanted to do good. And he's like, I know. And they had just been throwing down like 5 minutes before that.
Yeah.
Like they were literally kicking the shit out of each other. And this guy risked the electric Inhuman, the guy that was hooked up with Daisy, right?
Yeah.
Well, both guys were hooked up with Daisy. Daisy just dated a bunch of dudes in that show.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, she was cool, but she's cool. Like there's nothing bad about it. She dated. They're handsome dudes.
Hey man, but like I mean, I'd love to see her in the MCU. I really think they should start taking. Y'all are cinematically beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. But no, straight up, I think Chloe Bennett. I think she's a fantastic actress. Fantastic actress. I think it would be.
Dude, did you know that she dated Jake Paul or Logan Paul?
Yeah, she dated Logan Paul for a little bit.
Yeah, I was like,
I think for a while she's been dating.
I don't respect you anymore.
No more, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she dated that dude, but the way she carries her character and how intriguing she is with it and how she cares so much about the franchise, I would love to see her in the films.
Yeah. That's why, like, you know what? And it pisses me off, dude. It really, really fucking grinds my gears that Coulson was not at Tony Stark's funeral. For whatever reason that they left him out.
Yeah, that is that
chaps my ass, dude.
That really does. But then again, it's like I don't know the reason why after all this years they would continue to push on the idea that Phil Coulson died to bring the Avengers together.
Right?
Like you know what I mean? Like
Nick Fury already knows he's been back.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first that they saw people come back. So like my idea is like if they were to see Phil Coulson back, at least they would get a win.
Yeah.
Like a real fucking win without someone dying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's something I've never thought of, dude. Like that's a really, really impressive, like position to discuss. Like I never knew why they kept it going for so long. Like I never knew.
I mean, and now that the fucking series is over, and the series ended before Endgame came out.
Yeah.
So I mean, what the fuck is the like problem with having him be there probably for 3 days shooting the funeral scene, you know, for Tony Stark?
I think it was just one of those things like they were already done with his character. And for them to like take, I think, you know what I think it was? This goes back to what we were talking about a little while ago, where like they always use these weirds like disconnected assets for the television show. Because they don't want the show to be really...
I totally get that and understand that. Mm-hmm. To me, that just does not seem like a
good enough reason. Yeah, good enough reason. I would have said the same thing.
I would have been like, okay.
But if you do not, if you don't remember this, I mean, you didn't watch the show too much. In Thor Part 3, Thor Ragnarok, Lady Sif never shows up. But she did show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I know. I was about to say, I was like, but she showed up
but she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So again. And so did Nick Fury. Yeah. So please explain to me why that's okay.
So I'm telling you, like, I guess they have to remove them from the cinematic realm for them to be used in the television show. Show. Like, that would be the only reason why.
Yeah.
Like, there was a part where Agent Coulson, I guess, casually, like, dies or something. And there was always a part of me that wanted, like, a Tony Stark cameo to be like, hey, Phil, like, I know you're back. I know you've been back, but I let you do your thing. And it's sad to see you go kind of thing. Like, for him to actually be able to say goodbye to him. You know what I mean? Or even Captain America, since he was so in love with the symbol of Captain America.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fucking trading cards and stuff like
everything,
that.
Everything.
You know, like, literally the push to make the Avengers what they were was Bill Coulson's death.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, like, even Maria Hill says it. She was like, those were in his locker. They weren't on him. He was like, they just needed the push.
But, like, you know, as a matter of fact, talking about Captain America,
I heard
what it makes me so excited to talk about this. So recently in comic book news,
it makes me want to light a manly candle.
Yes, dude. And it's like beer smell and cigarettes and cedar wood or some shit, right?
It's actually mahogany and teak wood.
Yeah, I was close. It had to be some kind of wood. Men love the smell of, like, lumber. It's just what we do. We just want to be in the woods.
Hey, man, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Some of the best sleep I've ever gotten was out in the woods. So I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely camping, or even when, like, your military training.
Yeah. Granted, I was also tired out of my fucking mind, so that was probably another reason why.
Yo, so straight up, I have to say this because we have, of course, our badass listeners that need to know about the cool shit that's going on with comic books and everything. So apparently, in the last 2 weeks, this came across, but apparently, the pencil pushers at Disney and at Marvel have again reached out to Chris Evans for Captain America. And of course, everybody that knows this, that follows Marvel, knows that Chris Evans said that he's pretty much comfortable with how Captain America's story arc ended.
I think a lot of people were like, you know what? I accept this. Well, you know, they're like, he got the send off that everyone had kind of wanted for him. You know, granted, you're always going to want to see your favorite, you know, heroes. Your favorite actor reprise the role for as long as humanly fucking possible. I mean, Hugh Jackman was Wolverine for 13 years. You know, I think the only person who's ever outdone their character other than him has got to be, you know, is Tony Stark, you know, is RDJ.
Yeah, and it's
exactly, you know, he deserved that happy ending.
Yeah, he did, and definitely did. And him as an actor, you know, I even as an actor doing these kind of films, like, you want a happy ending for your character. A lot of the times, the characters have to sacrifice themselves, and then their character dies, which makes them sad and whatnot. But you have a character who actually got a happy ending for once, like a big superhero that got a good happy ending. But Marvel reached out to him, and apparently Chris Evans himself had requests for how he would come back. And oh boy, do I have the weirdest nerd boner for what this is. So Captain Chris Evans, I'm gonna call him Captain Chris Evans, has
Captain
said Daddy
Yeah, Daddy
that
Cap.
he will reprise his role as Captain America if they do a trilogy story setting up to Captain Hydra. Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck. Well, not only that, he also promised and said that he would also do it if he got to make 2 films with Wolverine. Damn.
Do you think that Hugh Jackman would ever come back to the Wolverine world?
Yes, I do. Yes, I fucking do. And the
to
reason
be
why,
in the MCU, like, because granted, dude, like whatever anyone says, dude, you know, like how shitty the Wolverine Origins movies was and stuff like that. Sure, got it. And yeah, they were pretty trash. I mean, they were funny, but they were trash. But I mean, Hugh Jackman getting the role to be Wolverine in the MCU. I mean, dude, you've made it.
dude, bro, like I have goosebumps just thinking about it. So I was talking to this with my roommate about this.
I legit would cry. I think I would actually cry.
Oh my God. Because like, okay, I was talking to my roommate about it and she said, well, there's no way because he won't come back because he's an old character already. And I said, yo, you have to understand that when he left the role of Wolverine, he left as one of the most pivotal character development stories that Wolverine had in the last decade, which is Old Man Logan. Like Old Man Logan's character has been the driving force behind him in the last like 10 years. And not only that,
I wouldn't say that they're best friends, but they're very, very respected.
They're very respectable.
Wolverine and Captain America did fight with each other in World War II.
Yeah, in World War II. And not only that, remember that after Avengers disassembled, Wolverine is one of the forefront X-Men to be the first Avengers on the team.
Yep. And and because of that, he was actually torn between, do I side with the X-Men or do I side with the Avengers? And if I remember correctly, I think he sided with the Avengers.
Well, because he understands them.
Yeah.
And he understood the danger of allowing the mutant race to be like just let loose on everybody and just be cool or whatever. Like, and he was like, of course, he knows Cyclops a fucking nutcase. You know what I mean? He knew exactly. He could smell that guy's crazy like a mile away.
Oh, dude, what Schism? That I was about to ask. I was like,
Schism was this comic book.
What is that comic arc where the two of them get into it and they just start their own schools? It was Schism.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they just like have at it. And you know, like he was like, dude, you've always been a bitch. And he was like, bro, fucking at me, dude. What?
Oh, wasn't it like Shink? It was a Schism. It was Shink. SNIHK.
No, dude, I think it was Schism. Like, I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, I believe it was Schism.
Okay, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it might be based on the sound of the claws that come out.
No, it's Schism. I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's literally called Schism. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fucking boom.
Bro, like, but for Chris Evans to ask for this and Marvel to release this and somewhat like out in the public to know.
This is like, the story arc that I am talking about, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like the idea of it all coming together now. Now, the idea of Captain America and Wolverine being in the same film, the reason why they would is because they would go back and establish the Weapon X storyline more. Because that's when Canada was going through their Weapon X program. So you'll see the kind of almost similar to the garbage Wolverine origin story, but done correctly. Because him and Captain America, even though they did fight in World War II, they ended up being partnered up to go after the same guy. The same, I forgot that Nazi dude. I forgot the. I don't want to say Strucker. It was some other alien. It was like the Chitauri or something that was helping Nazis develop weapons, and they brought in Weapon X and the Howling Commandos to deal with them.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember either.
But either way, it's them versus the Nazis, and it was Captain America and Wolverine teaming up. And this was also, if I'm not mistaken, before Wolverine got his claws, also his metal claws. So like he was using like fake ninja claws.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has some really, really cool, like, it's just a cool story overall because you're aware of Wolverine's code of being a warrior, and then to see how much respect he has for someone like Captain America. That's one part. And if you don't forget, Hugh Jackman said he would never reprise his role as Wolverine unless he had the opportunity to come out with the Avengers, or at least Captain America. So, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Hugh Jackman is an older guy too. Like he is an older gentleman, but they could surprise the role as Old Man Wolverine or Old Man Logan, introducing X-23 to the Avengers to be his praising role as the new Wolverine.
You know, and I would still watch it, dude. You know, like,
hell yeah,
like an X-23 entrance into the MCU would be fucking cool. Or even if they did like a Dakin story, you know, and they made Dakin like a slightly good guy or anti-hero.
I mean, we've talked about this a little bit too, where the character, that Daphne girl, like she's kind of slowly getting to the age of X-23.
And for anyone who likes the Golden Compass, dude, she's fucking amazing in his Dark Materials. Or his Dark Materials. She's
a really great actress. And I know that a lot recently they've been talking about creating more diverse characters, bringing in stronger female roles. Of course, everybody would love to see Wolverine, but we just said it too, that Hugh Jackman has played Wolverine through and through his entire life for the last 18 to 20 years, right? So would it be a great way to send the character off to bring him in as his elder self, literally passing the torch to a new Wolverine, right, into the MCU, and then developing the character from there, letting her grow old as the new Wolverine? We already have our Wolverine. You know, for all of us old school fans, I believe we're all proud of what Hugh Jackman has done.
I'm not just proud of it, dude, but I'm impressed. I mean, even at the fucking ripe age of like his 50s, that guy is still just
he's
beyond
shredded,
jacked.
Yeah, he's shredded. He's shredded, and he's such a great actor. Like we have our
that
Wolverine.
Guy is a true triple threat. Like if anyone does not know, that man is a Broadway actor. He is an accomplished singer, and he's a fucking amazing actor.
Yeah.
And like that man is just a gorgeous human being.
So like straight up, if he could, he would come back and reprise his role as Wolverine. It would be like a no-brainer to bring him back. It'd be a no-brainer. But the idea of knowing, we talked about this, Trigger. We talked about this when we talked about our spoilers for Endgame. And I told you, yo, what if when Captain America fights himself and he touched himself with the scepter, right before that, he told those Hydra dudes that he found Loki, and they found him unconscious after he was touched by the scepter. And they're all like, "Are you okay, Cap? We'll take you to Baron Zemo and he'll fix you right up." And they take him to Baron Zemo and they tell him that he was a Hydra agent and all this stuff. They set him up to be Captain Hydra. Cap going back and changing the past literally ruined his future. So like, what if that old Captain America, you see, that wouldn't make sense though.
Exactly, dude. You know, it's one of those, like, we want it to happen so much.
Yeah, I mean, Disney or Marvel will find it out. But I'm saying that, of course, the old Captain America that sits there, gives the Falcon back his, gives him his shield, and then goes back and says, like, "Nah, I got to tell you who I was married to," or whatever. Like that to be the Captain Hydra. But that means there should be another Captain America there that is the Captain Hydra, the younger one. So that means there's two Captain Americas in that universe, which we talked about. that when Peggy Carter passes away, that Captain was with her and all this other stuff. And that's the one that apparently texted the young Captain America to let him know that he passed away. Like when he gets the text that she finally passed on, it was peaceful or whatever. And he's like, I gotta go. That it was his younger self. There's a lot of people that believe it. But if they're gonna do Captain Hydra, I don't think that Captain Hydra is gonna be like, hey, you know what? I should text my future self and let him know Peggy died.
If they ever got Tom Hardy to play fucking Wolverine, dude, I would eat that shit up.
Oh, dude, Tom Hardy that guy can play.
That guy has done
Crunch, bro.
Yeah, that guy has done everything. He's done fucking like West Virginian, Georgian. That guy has done, straight Philly. That guy has done a Boston accent, his beautiful, English accent. I mean, that guy just is so good at what he does. So good at what he does. And, like Tom Hardy to me was always a great actor. I loved him in Inception, but when I saw him in Warrior, bro, holy fuck.
Yeah, dude, him in Warrior was super good.
In Warrior.
Yeah, he was super awesome in Warrior. But like, yeah, Tom Hardy would be an exceptional Wolverine, just like he was an exceptional Bane, even though Bane is like 8 feet tall, 400 pounds.
Brazilian.
Played him amazing. Even though he's shorter than fucking Christian Bale, he still played an amazing job.
Yeah.
Like, he was still a giant.
And on top of that, he's Brazilian. Like, he's got the Brazilian accent. And, he's got a real like deep Spanish accent. And, victory has defeated you, sort of shit. And I thought don't get me wrong. Like the first time you see that movie in theaters, the first time you saw it in theaters, like they actually had to redo his fucking lines, like because like they had to re-release it because he sounded like this the entire time, and it was very difficult to understand him.
It was very funny because it was the same thing as
That's true, man. Unless they recast Venom or some shit like that, he kind of already has an MCU role coming up. Oh, and speaking of that, dude, we're gonna get our first fucking trailer for Venom 2, There Will Be Carnage, on Super Bowl Sunday, this upcoming Sunday.
Oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Marvel has 3 blocks of commercials filled.
The final panel or the final trailer for Black Widow, Venom, Venom, There Will Be Carnage, and
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They have some trailers coming out that are going to bang this Saturday. I'm super excited to watch. Dude, maybe if we have a little bit of time, we'll jump on and we'll do some live reactions or some shit. That'll be super cool, man. I want to see what's up. Well, going back, right? Because we've talked very little about how Mephisto's gonna fucking Wanda's vision.
Right, dude. We're going back to our roots, ranting and raving.
I mean, it's just crazy because the thing is we talked about this earlier. So the idea of WandaVision and Mephisto working together, because there was a really big reveal that just happened. They haven't really talked about Mephisto. There's still the hexagonal designs that are coming out.
Right? Oh, they finally called it the Hex. And for anyone who actually knows Scarlet Witch's powers, her powers were originally called Hex powers. That's what they were called. They were called Hex powers. She had like her original powers were like Domino, but opposite. Yeah, she could essentially shape a person's luck bad to make it be bad. That was her reality warping power. Then she found out that she actually warps reality and fine tunes it to be a reality warping, ability. Yeah.
So like it's super crazy too because there's a lot of people that are talking about it being like.
I think Mortal Kombat is also coming out on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm more than sure there's going to be another teaser or some sort of spot for Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh, dude, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right now, entertainment's got to attack the Super Bowl like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the world's gone nuts.
The world sucks.
Yeah, the world sucks. Yeah, the original name for her powers were the Hex powers. But there are some people that are kind of like correlating the hexagons to aim idea mechanics, which is
and you know what? That I understand.
Yeah, I can understand it too.
Totally get it. Totally get it. I do hope that they bring in aim in the correct way that they do have it in the comics, kind of to like give a true purpose to the AIM name, you know,
Well, okay,
other than how they were portrayed in Iron Man 3, which was absolute trash.
trash.
You know,
Okay,
and
so I do have a theory, and that
lay it on me.
theory is that Shield, when Shield collapsed and it had Hydra that was inside of it, right? Because it was all a big ruse. It was all a big mutiny. There was a lot of people who were captured, taken in as Hydra agents. And I feel that there was a small group of them that kind of disbanded and they were like, yo, let's just go legit and let's just do our own thing. Like, we're not a fascist squad anymore trying to do some shit for the Red Skull. Let's just do our own stuff, which is very similar to the way Baron Zemo did against the Red Skull in the Pleasantville comic book. Because where Red Skull was going around kind of trying to stay to the original action of what the Hydra used to be, Baron Zemo was this dude that was like, yo, dude, like, why don't we just be villains? Like, we're already bad. Let's make a gang. Let's try to take over some stuff. So that's been the difference between the Baron Zemo faction of Hydra and the Red Skull. That's why they never got together. That's why they're always against each other, because they have two different variations of what Hydra was. And the thing is I think that the main guy that's in charge of S.W.O.R.D. right now with Monica Rambeau, I think that guy is an old school member of Strucker's Hydra faction. And if we remember back in the day,
I can almost see that.
Yeah, if we remember back in the day,
really can almost see that, but I almost don't want to see it. The reason being, dude, is because we've already left and done the whole Hydra thing. It's already been overplayed in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in the Marvel movies. I thought it was a nice little teaser in Endgame, you know, where they needed that particular aspect of storytelling to fit so that Cap could get away without like any resistance. Would it be cool? Sure. Do I care? Not really. But it's one of those things that, like, if it happened, I mean, I'd be like, all right, I guess. You know, with that being said, I mean, I could almost see some sort of Hydra reference, or even like you're saying, sub faction in Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, if you end up having a small faction, remember, because later on, Sunspot, Bobby Acosta ends up buying out AIM because they're legitimately like a real company. So if you were to take Hydra, a faction of Hydra, and then be like, dude, you know what? Like, Hydra failed a long time ago. Let's just look out for our stuff, but we'll still use their stuff. But let's just look out for us and let's go legit. Like, AIM always wanted to go legit. Like, if I'm not mistaken, when the incursion happened and Hyperion's my boy, the one from that universe, when his universe collapsed and the two incursions were happening and he held their two universes against each other and they exploded around him, he floated through an infinity of space. Like, he was just floating through nothingness. And it was AIM that went in, reached in, and pulled him out of that emptiness. So, like, there's this idea that AIM kind of just does things for science rather than do things for Hydra. But of course, they have to fund their stuff. So they break laws and they try to steal money. And they're like, well, let's get back to science, without the idea of them being somewhere, unless you have MODOK, because MODOK's the dude that's the super villain, right? But AIM by itself without a leader is just a bunch of, it's literally the reason why in the Venture Brothers cartoon, they have that one group of dudes that's just like, oh, hey, what's up, man? The yellow dudes, remember the green guys? They have the Monarch Squad, which is like these dudes that if they don't have a leader, they're just all hanging out with each other, just doing what they always do, just be henchmen. So literally Marvel writes AIM idea as henchmen. So, like, if you're to break it down, and these guys are literally just AIM, and that's why the acronym for S.W.O.R.D. is not the same as it is in the comic book, to where it is that it's just weapons based right now. It makes sense that that's because the people that are running AIM, or that are running S.W.O.R.D. are affiliated with AIM right now. And that's why I can weapons based.
And now that you say it like that, I can kind of get behind that a little bit more, because for Robert, to answer your question really quick, trash.
That's okay, well, we'll talk about the Snyder thing in a little bit, because it's a good question. It's a good question, though.
But I'm just gonna say one word: trash. But to harp on what Chris is talking about. So for anyone who doesn't know, SWORD in the comic books stands for Sentient World Observation Response Division or Department. No, or it is division. In the MCU, it's Sentient Weapons Observation Response Division. And
even the girl makes fun of it. Like even Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, she was like
references
weapons. Yeah, and I thought that was cool too. She was like weapons, and he was like, well, I mean, we've seen what's out there. We need weapons to defend ourselves.
And that goes back with the idea of the dude who made the villain in part 3 of Extremis.
Oh,
he
yeah.
makes Extremis as a weapon. And then not only that, the villain in part 2 of Iron Man, which was that other weapons maker guy. Huh?
Whiplash.
Well, yeah, the guy who created Whiplash, the guy that worked with him, right? Not the villain Whiplash, but the guy, the rich dude that was with him. The one that was trying to make ideas. Remember, he's kind of like
Justin Hammer.
Yeah. They're all in the same aspect where they're all trying to make weapons to be about that, right? But the reason why I have this idea that they're trying to bring these two together is because I believe that one of those two people, either Agnes and or the guy who created or the guy that's in charge of SWORD right now, that they found Strucker's files on Scarlet Witch and her brother, and they know how to manipulate them. Because that's the thing, is you couldn't force them to do anything for you because they're too powerful. But if you psychologically tell them how to do it and put things in place, you can get them to do it, which is like the For the Kids thing. They put it in there enough that she eventually had kids. And then like there was a lot of that in this past episode where there was a lot of like prearranged situations that made things happen because the Scarlet Witch subconsciously does things with her powers where she's not in control. And if they had that type of information from Strucker, then they have that one up because of AIM. You know what I mean? So it's a cool little connection. It might not happen, but it's a cool connection. So
it is. My only retort to that, and if there could even really be one, was if that was the case, and I'm really, really trying not to touch on spoilers. This has already come onto the into the commercials and stuff like that. It's all
the
over
Strucker
YouTube.
episode or the Strucker.
No. With what's happening in WandaVision.
Oh, okay.
If that was the case, then I don't think she would have left Westview to speak to SWORD and come back. Because that to me says that there's conscious action behind that. That there's some sort of awareness that she's doing it.
Yeah, I can see that. I know what you're talking about. I get that. Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, it's like I said, like I'm just
I agree. That would have been a great connection, dude.
Yeah, because for me the surprise was, if I'm not mistaken, I think in the second episode, the commercial comes out and it references Strucker. Out of all characters in the MCU right now, it referenced Strucker. I understand why they could reference Hydra. I understand why they would reference the toaster with the 666 being Mephisto.
Yeah,
but I
think
we
kind of need to get back to.
Yeah, I think that the commercials are literal, like emphasis on who is running the show. Because if you think about it, commercials generally are the sponsors of the show. So like if you break that down, that's the 666 on the toaster represents Mephisto, which a lot of people have talked about. So Mephisto would be one part of the show. You have Strucker, which would be the introduction of AIM and all that stuff. And then you have Hydra, which is the introduction of S.H.I.E.L.D., which goes off of what the other characters are based on, sort of. You know what I mean? Like, so those would be the sponsors of the show, which, in my opinion, means that there are some people that are in the city that know that they're in a simulation and are helping voluntarily because they're in on it. And there's others that are there because they're just cannon fodder and they don't know any better. Like they're just stuck in that because they're hostage.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes with what happened in this recent episode, right? But what I think that's eventually going to happen is at the ending of the series, when it comes to the very end of the show, like episode 8, this is just speculation. We're just shooting some shit out there. This isn't real. We haven't really done anything in the sense of knowing any spoilers about episode 8 or anything like that. I think Mephisto's going to somehow come out, or someone's going to kidnap the children, because she's not affecting the children when it comes to magic, because they're probably a part of her magic or whatnot. That's going to cause her to have a mental breakdown, which will somehow shatter the universe in a way that'll start to kind of like Doctor Strange all the different universes that have been discussed in the comic books, which goes to the idea of why you have Doctor Strange and Wanda in both Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. They have their own movie called the Multiverse of Madness, which to me is another wordplay on the House of M, as in the reason why they used madness. So it's like, it's the same kind of like wording. Like right now, if you think about it, Westville is literally a house of madness also, right? Or a house of M.
Yeah.
Because it's an enclosed area that she's totally in control of. So right now you could technically say that they are in the House of M, if you think about it, because it's got walls, which is that big ass shit that's on the outside, and everybody's inside is the ones that are affected with it. But knowing that her powers are that hard and she could still run that shit and do what she did in episode 5, you know that she could do that to the entire world. Like straight up, she can do that to the entire world. So like, and when that happens, this is why I say it. This would be a really good setup to, from there, the incursions, right? Which was, because there's no way they're ever going to do the Avengers, the end, into the incursions, into Battleworld the way it is in the comic books, right?
Yeah.
But if we remember, the Black Panther was the first one to catch the incursion, which is 2 planets about to smash into each other, and they had to kill each other off for one of them to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And in the iteration, at the very end of that comic book line, they found a way to merge both of them together safely and let go of things they didn't need anymore. Right? It's the other way of the comic book company saying, well, I like this stuff, but I don't like this stuff. How can we get rid of it? And then let's just reset and put it all together. Which is why now we have a universe that has Miles Morales. You know what I mean? When he used to be part of another multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's in ours straight up. But there's no way that we can apply that in the comic books, but it's a great storyline, and it's right before Captain Hydra.
Yeah.
So like for them to be able to somehow, just like Planet Hulk, just like World War Hulk, bring in some way the incursion, which starts with a big red flash and then 2 worlds are brought together, which is kind of what, you know, Wanda's powers casually look like. And then the idea of the next movie with Doctor Strange being the Multiverse of Madness, meaning that she somehow smashes the entire universe together and puts all the multiverses up and is freaking everyone out. And it's affecting Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. It's affecting Thor, because one of the guys who speculates on films and is very accurate when it comes to his theories and speculations said that Storm is going to make her debut in Thor Love and Thunder. And I was like, my face exactly, Trigger's face is like, what the fuck? And the reason why is because in the multiverse, she's part of the Thor Corps. You know who else is part of the Thor Corps?
She's one of the iterations of Thor.
Exactly. But you would never have that in a regular Guardians movie unless the multiverse was smashed together. And you want to know what did, in the pictures that they released of Thor, what does he look like?
Well, he's finally skinny again.
Well, who does he look like?
Oh yeah, he does kind of look like a little bit like Old Man Thor a little bit.
No,
but like,
Thunderstrike.
Oh yeah, people were saying that, and I was like,
he's wearing a denim sleeveless jacket. His hair is pinned back in a ponytail with dreads. That's literally, and he has the ultimate hammer, which is literally super equivalent to what Thunderstrike was back in the day. and they're not changing his role, which that means if you look at the way Peter Quill is dressed, both of them are kind of going into the 80s with their costume dressing.
Which kind of makes me fucking think, dude like, oh man, we had Ragnarok, let stay away from the 80s, god damn it.
No, dude, it's gonna be good because now he's gonna be, because remember, this is a Thor that doesn't know who he is. And during that comic book line, even though a lot of people don't know that earlier versions of Thor and the stories were, they were almost like Saturday Night Special comics or cartoons, where every comic that they wrote out was kind of like this Saturday Night Special. They were just like one-offs, maybe 3 episodes long. There was never really any big arcs of Thor. Mm-hmm. He was just this hero in space. He was like He-Man. There wasn't any really big arcs of He-Man. He just went out and did adventures and shit. Thor was almost exactly the same. Thunderstrike brought in this character where he was kind of like a detective, an old, like literally Kung Fury, but with Thor, where he did like this old 1980s, like, I'm going to go solve some crimes. I'm going to ride the lightning, boys. And he kind of went out and did his things, was in like a rock band and all this other stuff. Like, it was super crazy. But it's because at this time, Jane Foster's supposed to be Thor. So there's already a normal Thor. We need an abnormal Thor. And the idea of him finding himself would be a really great idea for them to introduce Thunderstrike, which was a cool comic book favorite. And then from Thunderstrike, the multiverse happens. And then he's hit there. And then he sees Groot with the hammer. And Groot's a fucking Thor also. And then Gamara's a Thor. And then they see Beta Ray Bill. All the people that come out in Guardians of the Galaxy as Thors are going to come out in that show. But Thor is not Thor. So even with this aspect of like them introducing Beta Ray Bill right now in the movies wouldn't make any fucking sense. It wouldn't make any fucking sense because Odin is not there to bestow him a hammer. Right, Trigger?
Yeah.
Like there's never been any iteration of Beta Ray Bill. And the only thing that made Beta Ray Bill famous was when he was established in the comic books. They brought him to Odin, and Odin was like, cool, fight Thor, and whoever wins gets the hammer, fight to the death. And then Beta Ray Bill beats the shit out of Thor.
Yeah,
and then he's literally like, oh, I'm not going to kill your son because that's super immoral. And I'm not like that. He fucking drops the hammer. And Odin's like, perfect, here's your hammer. And he gives him another hammer.
Yeah, he gives him Stormbreaker.
Like, such a great guy. Here's
like, you're in this.
Yeah, and he makes him Stormbreaker, which is that old brass hammer. But the thing is that can't happen now because Odin's dead. But if Thor, who is imbued with the power of Odin, finds these people, fights Beta Ray Bill and gets his ass kicked, and while he's on the ground, this person does something morally that shows him how to be a hero and sacrifice himself for his people, what if Thor says, you know what, you're more Thor than I am, and enchants him a hammer, gives him some of his power? Then you have a really cool introduction to Beta Ray Bill being a follower of Thor, not of Odin. Because like you remember, man, I'm getting into the newer stuff, but like the newer version of the Nexium style Thor, which is this Herald of Galactus version, right? He's the king he's the King Odin's son now. He's the king, right? King Thor. And when he calls up Beta Ray Bill, he literally just destroyed his hammer a couple comic books ago. And and Beta Ray Bill is kind of like, well, I don't know why you're calling me. I'm jack shit to you now.
Yeah, and well, I think the reason being is because like there's always been a brotherhood between the two of them. The two of them have fought with each other on numerous occasions, and they have that respect
for each other.
That even though Thor did break his hammer, Thor did it under the under the pretense that I'm doing this for my people. You know, like I'm doing this to save Asgard. I'm not doing this.
Kind of flexing on him to be like, look, dude, when I ask you something, like I mean it. I know you consider to be an equal, but we are not equals. And he smashes the hammer and he's like, we are not equals, boy. Like, you know what I mean? But I think eventually he's going to be like, here's your hammer back. I'm sorry, bro. I love you.
Well, like, I mean, in the more recent iteration, and my fucking dude, my boy Rob, dude, he was like, I'm going to, he was like, look, dude, there's going to be a point in time where I'm going to have to leave the throne to go to Earth to fix something.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well then what do you need? And he's like, I want you to
lead.
So he was like, I want you to take over in my stead. You're the only person that I trust to do this. And he was like, well, then I'm going to need a hammer. And he was like, I thought you'd say that. And so he opens the armory and he's like,
there's a fuckload of hammers. Yeah. Fuckload of hammers.
Pick one.
I fucking love that comic book, dude. I love it. It's so good. But yeah, man, that's the way I feel, because there's a huge thing coming in the Marvel realm. There's a huge thing coming in the MCU. And I know that there's a lot of people who believe that DC's not too far away. They've been left in the dust. But the thing is Marvel needs to keep up on what they've been doing, and they have to surpass what they've done. So, of course, if you look at Endgame as a creator, not as a person who's watching a film, how do you top that? Like, how do you top that? You want to know how you top that? You combine a bunch of different shit together that wasn't together in the first place. So I believe that the next big venture for the comic books, they have to go cosmic, they have to go multiverse, and they have to correlate it all into one universe again. So like, there is a part of me, because the Russo brothers have said it too, that I think that the next major arc of the Marvel universe, it's going to sound so stupid, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, is Secret Wars.
Which one?
The first one.
The one where they're all Skrulls?
No, not Secret Wars. What's the other? Not
You talking about Secret Invasion?
Which one?
You talking about Secret Invasion?
No, not Secret Wars. That's where they put the superheroes against the supervillain by the Beyonders, and they have them fight each other.
Oh, yeah, the 1980s Secret Wars.
Gotcha. See, the thing is the Russo brothers have said that they want to do that movie, but they can't because they don't own the rights to all the characters. Now they do. But the problem is they already jump-started the universe without those characters. But if you can put them all in one realm, on one adventure together, and then combine them at the end being the ultimate story, like the ultimate goal, that's the easiest way to do it. Like right now, they're about to do the multiverse thing with Wanda and them by bringing in all these characters, but it's because they're going to break the universe. And then from there has to be some consequence. Right? There has to be some consequence of what Wanda does when she does this. Because when it comes to magic, and that's because like, oh man, my neck itches. Recently there was a comic book line called Avengers Damnation, which brought to the forefront again Mephisto. Mephisto being the villain, he ends up Las Vegas ends up being attacked by in a war or in a big battle against some alien shits, and it's demolished. Doctor Strange comes in and makes a deal and does some giant magic shit that brings everybody back to life, and it rebuilds Vegas. And he's kind of like, everyone's like, yo, bro, how did you do that? And he's like, well, I did magic. Don't worry about it. And Jane Foster, Thor at the time, comes up to him and says, Doctor Strange, I know you're a man of magic, but you know, magic like that comes with a price. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I get that. And then all of a sudden, boom, a giant casino erupts in the middle of Vegas, and it's called Tower Inferno, and it's Mephisto's casino. And all the money and all the gold and all the stuff that does it are all pieces of someone's soul. So all the value of souls that he's created over the years is all the money he's financed. And all he's doing is just gambling people's soul away in the city of sin, which is Vegas in the comics. So like, again, with that type of magic, what Wanda's doing, you know, with Vision and everything that they've come to terms with how she's doing it and what she's doing, when you use a lot of magic, it comes at a price. Mm-hmm. It comes at a price. And the price that we know that happens with Wanda is the House of M. Like the House of M storyline is like, you have to kill Wanda or she's going to fuck everything up for everybody.
You know, and I was actually telling Audrey that like on my way back from work, you know, kind of to get into the whole WandaVision thing, because she was asking me certain questions. She was like, is this? And I was like, well, I have to break down a story for you first. Let me
in a way it is. It's always in a way.
Let me give you a 10-minute Cliff Notes version of House of
yeah. Yeah, that's what I got to do.
Like, And I was like, look, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, and then this happens. And then when it all ends, this
happens.
And so she was like, okay, but does that mean that this is going on? And I'm like, but that's the thing. It's yes and it's no.
And it's no. Yes and no.
And she was like, wait, but I don't get it. And I was like, that's the point.
But that's the cool part, though. Like, I feel like right now Marvel has it. Like, they figured it out. They've put enough into it that the readers and the fans of it are intrigued because of where they're pulling from. And they're giving enough to the new people that they're like, what does that mean? Where did that come from? Who's that? Like, you have to be like I guarantee it. I haven't even asked you this, but the moment that in the 4th episode of WandaVision, when they started talking about the villagers, I guarantee when they were calling names out, you were going through everything in your mind and the Rolodex of Marvel knowledge on who those people were. And you were like, is that person from here? Is that person from this part? Where's that name I've heard of? Who is that? I know they're in a comic book somewhere. Every person, only to find out that they were not. Like, none of those characters ever really appeared. Like, the first thing, like I said, I think you and I talked about this a couple episodes before that, was they have to be Alpha Flight. Remember we said that?
Yeah, and I am.
And you were like, "There's no way. There's no way." And yeah, you were right. There's no way. There was just nobody's. There were nobody's. But like, the reason why I said that is because everybody's costume looks so silly. Like, the black dude with the big afro, like, it looks like a wig. The guy with the big mustache, he looks like Dum Dum Dugan. Like, there was all these little things that I was kind of like, wait a minute. Like, a little chubby Asian person. Like, Marvel never uses chubby people unless there's someone really cool. Like, you know what I mean? Or unless they're really hip or something.
Yeah, and like I said before, I could understand where you could get like, oh, they could be this person, and I'm like, dude,
yeah,
I don't know.
But we did do that when those names were being called out. We started, like, our minds went into overdrive trying to figure out where we've heard those names before. And Marvel's really good at hiding that stuff. But it's very weird on the way that the Agatha or Agnes, what's her name? Agnes or Agatha?
Oh, so in the show, her name is Agnes.
It's very weird the way her character's written.
Yeah, but that's why, like, I really think that she's Agatha Harkness.
Oh yeah, definitely. I guarantee that that's who she is. But the reason why I go off of the theory that they're doing Strucker's paperwork and they're using his cliff notes to control him, and it's a third party away from Sword and away from Mephisto, is that she seems like she's not really controlled by the powers.
That's why, dude. Like,
she's voluntarily being there.
Yeah, that's why I was like, dude. But there's like, she's showing a level of awareness that she's doing it, and that's why I kind of agreed with what Vision was saying at first. You know, like, hey, at first I thought it was this, and I don't think that you became aware of it until this.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and like I said, I'm trying so hard not to give spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. Yeah,
and it is really, really fucking difficult, by the way. But with like all that being said, it's kind of like one of those like, man, you really like, you know, for some people who are just watching this, you know, the casual, you know, MCU goers and stuff like that, like you're listening to all this and you're like, oh man, what could it be? And then like the avid movie, you know, the avid comic book readers were like, dude, is it this?
Yeah, we're freaking the fuck out, dude. I know I'm freaking the fuck out. I'm freaking the fuck out all the time. Yo, I still have a very strong feeling that probably in the next like I'm guessing the last 2 episodes, that Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange is going to have to make an entrance, which would be a straight reference to House of M. This will be a call out to people who know comic book references a little bit. I don't think Wheels is going to come out yet, even though I would love to see him come out. Trigger, you know who I'm talking about? Wheels, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be really cool if he came out to offer some type of help to Wanda Maximoff, which would be, of course, a cool nod to the House of M. I don't see that happening. Even though that would be so fucking cool, man. The older wheels, not the newer version from the movies. The older movies, the 1990s version, the Star Trek man. Yeah, like I really think that he would be a really great addition to this story, and it'd be cool to see him back in the show. I don't feel this was a good question earlier. I think Robert Flores asked this. He asked if we think Mephisto would come out in his demon form or in a human form. I really think that he'll do a human form for safety.
Yeah.
For Marvel playing it safe with not having to show any of like the demonology or anything like that. But I have a feeling like a really cool way to do
I think it's going to happen that the whole like true form of him is going to happen in the Doctor Strange movie.
Yes. Or the other way that I feel is if he comes out, he'll come out like as this kind of like weird, like casual, like, hey, what's up kind of character, right? And then someone will be like, well, who are you? Like Wanda will be like, well, who are you or whatever? And he'll be like, well, close your eyes and you could probably see me better. And she closes her eyes and you'll see like the red eyes, like the comic book variation in a quick snap. And then she'll open her eyes freaked out and see him as this like good looking guy. Like that's a really great way for cinematography to show that someone is evil, where they show like a real quick snippet of who he could really be like in the darkness. Which if you don't,
or if they gave him a silhouette, like if they
or
just
something like that, right?
him,
yeah,
you know, like did a red aura with a silhouette of how he looks,
something like the ears or the horns,
you know, yeah,
hair,
or like and the big, you know, like collar thing. Yeah. I would eat that shit up, dude.
Yeah, I would eat that up in a heartbeat, man. Yeah. It's very similar to the way they did Legion. Remember when they brought up the Nightmare King or what's that dude? The Dream King or the guy that was the villain, the big fat dude.
The Chaos King.
The Chaos King, yeah. When they introduced him, they kind of showed him as like this weird, ominous thing in a room real fast. Like real like quick snippets of, hey, this is what he really looks like. Like, you know, and it does kind of give you this kind of like ooey vibe, you know what I mean? Like ooey, you know what I mean? But I just don't feel like he portrays that weird, scary essence in any of the shit. Cause like literally it wouldn't be the first time that someone like bitch slapped Mephisto. Like people have pimp slapped him so hard several times. Ghost Rider practically slaps the crap out of him. Doctor Strange slaps the crap out of him like all the time. Like it's nothing.
Even magic has been known to do it.
Who?
I said even magic has been known to do it.
Yeah, like it's very crazy. Like in the essence of how he's written so different. Like there's this really weird like we say, like there is a creepy vibe to him in the sense of how much cosmic power he has. But when you kind of even the playing field with someone with just amount of power, he's pretty weak for what he is as a cosmic person. Like I know for sure, like he could probably get floored by Thanos really easy. Hence the reason why Thanos, like he was Thanos' bitch in the Infinity Gauntlet story originally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, Thanos would floor his ass with like a good slap, which means more than likely, if not mentally bestowed on, the Hulk could probably put a good slamming on him too. But I know for sure that Mephisto's put a good whopping on Thor though. And a bunch of the Avengers in times too in the comics. But like I said, like this goes back with the idea of who's the guy that's writing the story at the time. Sometimes he's written as a Loki character. Sometimes he's written as a cosmic entity. It just determines on who needs him for that time. And like we said before, like one of the stupidest iterations of Mephisto was One More Day, the Spider-Man story, which Mephisto apparently out of left fucking field comes out to tell Peter Parker, who's about to get married to Mary Jane, that he needs to take their marriage. And if he does that, if he gives the love that he has and sells that to Mephisto, Aunt May will survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just forgot who was writing that story because for years, everyone hated the fuck out of him because they were like, it didn't make sense for the guy who is a cosmic entity that eats souls that wants to come by and take Spider-Man's love, not his soul.
Michael Straczynski.
Yeah, Straczynski. There you go. People
and Joe Quesada
hate him for it. Joe Quesada kind of got away with it.
But that's because Joe Quesada can get away with it.
Blunt end of it. And everybody was even talking about like Straczynski, like literally Well, you see, okay, so that's the thing is it Joe Quesada was the guy who was writing the story, but Straczynski was the one that was against Spider-Man getting married. And the reason why he was against Spider-Man getting married is because the idea is Spider-Man's always supposed to be like this young cat.
Yeah.
And for him to get married, it kind of like
it showed his age.
Older. Like
he's gonna have it's because it finally showed his age.
Fatherhood. It's like my boy Trigger here. He got married. And now it's like we talked about earlier, Trigger. Now you get to say like, well, I got to go home to my wife. I don't got to go to my girlfriend.
Yeah,
my wife. It's so much different. Even if it's just like one word, it does mature the level of the audience. It does mature the level of people who are listening, paying attention to it.
It also matures the character. And you know, like I hadn't really thought about that until I read Civil War.
Oh, dude, definitely.
And the reason being is because when Tony Stark convinces Spider-Man, Peter Parker to be the first one to sign, the Superhuman Registration Act, he fucking webs himself in, he does a little spin, and he lands and he takes his mask off and he's like, my name is Peter Parker and I have been Spider-Man since I was 15 years old. And they're like, oh!
Dude, man. It's okay. Myers Trigger's an old fucker now. I don't want to put that in the comment section, but you guys can read it there. Yeah, man. Okay, so Sal also says that Mike took the heat, but he was only doing it what the boss Joe Quesada told him to do. Yeah,
and it's true. Joe Quesada at the time was the one kind of running the show.
Yeah, and he was the one that eventually had to do it. Like, yeah. Mike ended up taking the blunt out of it because he had to make the story, but Joe Quesada was the one that kind of told him what to do in the sense. So he was the driver. So a lot of people know it was Joe Quesada. But yeah, man, Mephisto, I feel like but then again, it's like, how would it be taken though? Like, I know we're about to end the show in a little bit. We got like maybe like 15 minutes left. How would it be if Marvel brought this weird Satan-esque character into the fold right now in the Marvel universe? Would it make sense to like the fans that are casual watchers? Like, it's like, what? Satan? Where did this guy come from? Why Satan in Marvel? Like, would it make sense? You know what I mean, right? Like, it's a weird, like, because like the idea, like, okay, like right now with the political correctness, Judeo-Christianity being looked at and frowned upon in certain political aspects right now, being that in the Marvel universe they have so many different villains, so many different cosmic entities, and then to choose out of the hat the one that's most representable to the Christian idea of what Satan tactically is, like, would it be a smart move to bring in a character like that out of nowhere?
I want to say yes, but only in the pretense that you do not look at it with a religious aspect or a religious view on it. And the reason that I say that is because comic books have always traditionally been about telling a good story. Whether it's Superman from the 1930s or, 2015 Secret Wars. It's always been about a good story. Now, and this is not at all to piss anyone off, man, but you read the Torah, you read, the Quran, the Bible, whatever piece of religious text that you happen to read or pray to or whatever, they are ultimately stories. It's how you interpret them, it's how you view them that differs from person to person. And to incorporate such powerful pieces of literature into a comic book, made for essentially kids, and a younger audience, is something that sometimes you kind of have to draw on because, like, these are important things to people outside of comic books, and it helps kind of bring that in. But at the same time, dude, you walk on eggshells because, man, you say draw or, reference the wrong thing and done. You are fucking over.
Yeah, it's like Edgar right here put, yes, it'll make sense to the audience, but I think people will be like, this show is evil. Let's try and shut it down. Of course, it goes back with that idea of the whole political correctness.
Yeah.
You know, people
And that's why, like, that's why even like with what I was trying to reference in, you know, like what I was just saying earlier, you know, like even I was, you know, still walking on eggshells. I mean, I don't know anyone's religious affiliation. I you know, I have made this very clear to Chris on multiple occasions. I don't want to talk about philosophy, religion, or politics on this show. Those are subjects that I really, really try and avoid because I know how fucking, you know,
how damaging it can
go.
Yeah,
you know, I understand that it's a very touchy subject, and I just don't want to bring such a delicate issue or a delicate matter into our show when we're made specifically just to exit the reality, you know, and that's what the show is made for. And, you know, and but to like harp on what he was saying, and, you know, and the political correctness of the world, and, you know, and the political correctness of like comic books and stuff like that, you know, you know, we walk a really, really fine line when it comes to that, because like we want to tell a good story, and we have a character who can make that story so much fucking better. But like, how do you introduce this character without pissing off anyone?
You know what? Like Marvel is masterful at doing this, bringing in characters, making them make sense, getting people to love them or hate them. Like, you know, and they do take like the aspect of this character being very familiar with the Judeo-Christian aspect that was attacked way back in the day in the 60s when he was first established. And they went around that loop very well because they were able to get away with that character back in the 60s, which I feel had a lot more grounded essence into the whole like religious thing. Like for them to get away with it back then, like they were able to pull it off. So they've had that much time to prep for situations like we're going through right now. So like, I don't feel like it's going to be a big problem. I feel like a lot of people might think it's like a weird, like, oh, what a cheesy character for them to bring in. But if they are able to pull off the idea of not making Mephisto seem like the religious Judeo-Christian variation of the devil,
which I don't think they will. I think I think they'll play it in a very Ghost Rider-esque kind of way, where it's kind of
what's like you said earlier, like Crowley. Like if they can pull off a Crowley and make him lovable, because they made Crowley super lovable. I didn't want that guy to die in the Supernatural series.
Oh,
I didn't want anything to
happen. My favorite Crowley moment is when he's talking to Castiel and he takes him to hell, and he was like, "I've been to hell before, and this isn't hell." And he was like, "What are you talking about? They're at the DMV and they're waiting in line."
Yeah,
it's like fucking horrible. You know, like as soon as you get there, you have to go grab a number and you go back to the line. That's horrible.
Yeah, dude. They wrote a very I mean, it's weird to say a lovable character of it, but it's one of those things that makes it very, very important. Like, yes, I think they will pull him off very well. I think they will pull more because right now I believe that Marvel is doing exceptionally well at building the magic, mystery, science fiction-y version, supernatural version of their comic book era. Like they're building it very well. They did it very well with Doctor Strange. And then I know that it wasn't really like, a lot of people don't remember this, but if you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, at the end on the hidden scene at the ending of the credits, they do establish the older variation of Astro's Guardians team, and there's an alien there that uses the same magic as Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of established at that moment that magic, it doesn't have to deal with a religious aspect. That's like something that's used cosmically. So I do feel like they're going to really pull this really great idea into establishing that, yes, this character in some way is like an urban legend, kind of like the way Thor is when it comes to the Nordic Viking history. But in their own right, they are people that belong in a different realm of reality. And I think they're going to do it right. I really, really do. Okay, I got to go with this one. Let me see what Edgar says really, really fast. And then we're going to talk about real fast about what Robert said. We're going to touch base. He says, I'm sorry, Chris, but I have to disagree with you on this because people these days find a reason to argue about anything. Correct.
Yeah, they do.
And you want to know what? Like, you're absolutely correct because of the fact that when Wanda first came out, we were there too when we were saying we were disappointed with the show because of the speed that it was taking. Only to be shown
for the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, only to be shown that
dragging on.
Only to be shown that Marvel was still in charge very well. And right now, like, they slapped us in the face.
Yeah.
Like, they slapped us in the face. We could have waited and we could have been comfortable with what they were doing. Like, yes, the 30 minutes sucked. The week long sucked. But man, dude, yesterday's episode, 4 and 5, the episodes were worth it.
100%.
100% were worth it. And
yeah.
I can tell you, like, when the entire season's done and all 8 episodes are out and you can see it, it's in entirety, it would have made sense for them to release it the older ways that they would release the Netflix series, where they just release all of them in one night. It would have made sense, but they needed to stretch it out. And I 100% give them faith. If they want to make the Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier 20 minutes long and make us wait 2 weeks, I'm cool. I'll wait because I know what they're capable of. Okay, going back really quick. I have to go back to this because I did not get to talk about it. And I know we're running out of time and I don't want to keep Sugar because Sugar's tired, guys. Sugar had a long day of work and I feel bad for you, brother. I know I do. You know I do. Okay, so Robert says, this is a quick question for you guys. I got to ask, what do you guys think of Zack Snyder's Jared Leto Joker? You look since they showed a picture of him that's blurred, long hair and face. Trigger said it very quickly earlier where he said trash. Jared Leto's a good actor, 100%. He's done amazing stuff, but that is not the problem. The problem is Zack Snyder believes in his own legend, and he doesn't think that he sucks at making film. And he did the Justice League really shitty. Like, he did them very bad. Then he says, what do you guys think of Zack Snyder's Joker, Jared Leto, the long hair? Since the picture came out by Snyder, even though it's a bit blurry, it looks like his face is crumbling. It's a little, I mean, they're going to be pulling from different variations. If I'm not mistaken, that's very close to the way they did the Gotham Joker, the twin brother, where his face was like cracking the skin. Do you remember that?
Yes.
But like really, really straight up, I'm not impressed by the pictures that Snyder is releasing.
Not even a little bit.
And the reason why is because we've waited this long to be told that these were all images and videos and things that had been created that had just been casually cut by that other dude that made Avengers, Whedon, right? That apparently Whedon came in and cut all this shit out. But they needed 72 billion to do like 45 hours of extra filming. So that means Zack Snyder was full of shit. He lied to everybody and did not have this shit filmed. And he blew smoke up everybody's ass. And now he's trying to build as much anticipation to release a 4-hour film because he knows in 2 hours, none of the shit that he's actually creating would have made any fucking sense. That he would have had to have made his story into a trilogy. And he doesn't know how to cut it into a trilogy now. So now he has to deliver it in a 4-hour fucking film. Am I upset? Fuck no. I get 4 hours of a DC film. Am I excited? Fuck no. Because Zack Snyder sucks at making DC films. But will it make for some shit that I can play in the background while I play video games? Yes. Is it something that I can play in the background while I build crafts and draw and do stuff? Yeah. I'm cool. Justice League, the movie, I don't watch it for its cinematography and its beauty. I watch it just because it's funny because fucking, what's his name? Jason Momoa is hilarious as Aquaman. You know, he's funny. Gal Gadot is amazing as Wonder Woman. Even though part 2 sucks, she's still amazing. And Ben Affleck beating the shit out of people saying he's not killing people, even though you can blatantly see him killing motherfuckers. I'm for it. Fuck it. Superman just...
You know... So super funny that you mentioned that, dude. Actually, during the show earlier, I want to say about 5 minutes into this show, I was actually watching Batman. I was watching the Batman versus Superman. Batman beating the fuck out of everybody in that warehouse, and
he's killing everybody, dude.
There is one scene, and everyone knows this scene, is where he yanks the box over.
Oh, that dude fucking dead, dude.
I was like. Not only does that fucking box hit this dude straight in the fucking mouth, he hits the wall, blood splats, and then the box falls straight down. Just boom.
Bro,
That's a heavy box.
He murked the dude with a grenade.
Yeah, two.
Yeah, two guys with a grenade. He dropped them in the hole and dropped the grenade on him.
Hanging, and he fucking kicks the dude so hard that he detaches from the restraint onto the grenade, and he just goes back to snapping everybody, and the grenade blows.
Yeah, I think even also there is a scene where he's using, I guess the casual Batman fan that wants to believe that Bruce Wayne isn't murking motherfuckers is using rubber bullets when he's driving the fucking Batmobile and fucking blowing cars up and slamming them 18 like shit normal people wouldn't survive. Like, the whole scene I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the dock scene when the cars are like flying into each other and fucking like literal head-on collisions into the windshield, not the front of the car. Like those guys all survived. Yeah, sure. I'll call it as that, Batman. Yeah. Like all of those things, people actually want to say like, nah, dude, nobody died, bro. Like Batman did not have a plan.
Yeah, dude, he's asleep forever.
Yeah, he's just sleeping, man. Batman's just one of those dudes that puts people in comas for no reason, but they have no pulse.
Yeah,
the reason why they don't die is because
they're permanent comas.
Yeah, because he's paying for the funeral expense. No one has to pay for that shit out of pocket. Bruce Wayne just covers that shit. That's why no one's dead. Like, it's weird, bro. It's weird how many people like will try to be like, oh, well, the reason why he's killing people is because he's old and he's seen some shit. How do you know that? Like, what part of that movie explains that? All I know is he's old. He's buff as fuck in the suit. He does it as a detective. He's the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. He's been talking to Wonder Woman for years, but when she gets on the battlefield, he looks at Superman and is like, is she with you? And he's like, no, I thought she was with you. When Batman sent the fucking email. Batman sent the email, the picture of Wonder Woman, and was like, yo, this is you. Some shit's going down. I hope you show up to help us battle him. And then she shows up and he's surprised. He's fucking surprised and he thinks he's with Superman. I was so pissed, dude. I was so pissed. He's popping rounds of kryptonite at fucking Darkseid and he's shooting his little grappling hook. And then he gets put in a situation where he's got no more fucking grappling hook. And he's like, oh, fuck, how am I going to survive this? Like, yeah, straight up. I think that Batman sucks. Like, I am 100% not excited for the fucking Zack Snyder film. Like, jaded, I can't explain how.
There you go, man. Chris Jaded is back.
Jaded as fuck, dude. But like I said, I'll watch the fuck out of that movie to get a good laugh, though. Like, I'll look at that and be like, I'll giggle and be like, yeah. When Superman flies away after he fucking floors the Batmobile with Superman in it just by standing still. And then Batman stands up and he's like, do you bleed or whatever? I'm like, bro, he just ruined your best car. Like the car that changes in every movie. He floored that shit standing still. And you're going to ask him if he bleeds. Like, what the fuck? And Martha is the thing that stops them both. Martha, the name Martha. Trigger, man. I am so jaded to DC, but look, I'm going to be right on side with Trigger with this. I want for DC to win. I want them to win so bad. I want for the Snyder Cut to be good, like successfully good. Why? Because it's a beautiful time to be alive for comic book lovers. It's a beautiful fucking time. We are finally getting film adaptions of the characters that we grew up reading and loving. Like, we get to see them for reals done correctly. Look, for me to explain that, Star Wars CG wise and cinematically is barely getting that from the 78 that it was written, from the years that it's been around. So the 30 years that Star Wars has been around, they're getting the way that they wanted the movies to actually be.
Dude, 50 years. Yeah,
no, is it been 50 years?
It came out in the 70s.
Well, yeah, I was born in 81 and I'm going to be 40 this year.
So think about it this way. I think the first one came out in either 73 or 75.
Yeah, so it'd be like 5 years, like maybe 40, 45,
so
46
from
years.
1970 to 2000, that's 30. Now we're in 2020, that's 20.
Yeah, it'll be a couple years older than me. I'm good. but they're barely getting the science of film that they need to make it look the way they wanted it to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. It's so amazing. I'm so excited, just like Trigger is, on where the Marvel universe is going. Like, if and when the next thing that comes up happens, it'll set up for so many things. I wish we can talk. I am super old, Edgar. Thank you so much. I wish we could talk about some spoilers. I really do, because it would
Not
make
this time,
sense
guys.
to what it is. But I think we'll have a real good spoiler discussion when the series ends. Should be a couple weeks.
Dude.
Yeah, we'll totally fucking dissect the shit out of it. Kyle put, Batman never has had a chance against Superman. Only for the grace of the portable hole trope. The fact that Batman seamlessly has literally everything in his fanny pack. Yep. Even kryptonite, a chunk of a rock that's several million light years away. Batman is a mess. Yeah. I mean, he's a Deus Ex Machina. He
right
is
now,
Mary Sue.
He's just a literal plot point. That's all
he's a plot point.
Is, and that's what he's evolved into, and that's why very much like Superman and Wonder Woman, like the fucking DC Trinity, I very, 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 very little respect anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand the aspect of you have like a god amongst men, you have a female view on things, and then you have a man's view on things. Right, like I do understand what they're trying to do, where there's like a human-esque nature to the aspect of there being a hero that's a human, because for some reason a human morally is always gonna pick the right thing or some shit.
And
I
somehow or another, that moral compass is.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand that whatsoever. They did it also in a weird way with Jane Foster's Thor when she went up against the what are those dudes called? I always forget their fucking name. Where the Guardian is part of. Where you remember the guys that do the Phoenix in the X-Men cartoon, the chick Leandra, the one that has the cool hair. It's a cosmic group of people, and I always forget their fucking name. And they come out in the Internals too. So,
yes. Give me 1 second.
It's not the Chitauri. I know that. But you could type it in though. I mean, that would probably be way better. Yeah, there's a part where she goes against their variation of their gods, and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Let's have a god off. You will populate this planet with a bunch of water and this, and we'll have other people, and we'll see who the people pray to."
Shi'ar.
Oh, the Shi'ar. Yeah, the Shi'ar. She went against their gods, and they had a god off, and every time that they went and did something biblical, like a god. Yeah, the Shi'ar Empire. Thank you, Sal. Thank you so much. Jane Foster would be like, "You animals," and she'd try to save all the people that were a part of like the biblical destruction. And then at the end, someone was like, "Oh, well, you see, well, this person, this Jane Foster, this Thor is a better god because she's more understanding. She's more," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like, there's always this like reach for them who's going to be the better god. That's why they brought in the Jane Foster to kind of humanize the idea of a human having the aspect of being a god and being more savior than someone who has privilege that's already just born into it, right?
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. Like, I just think it's bad writing. I think it's bad to ambiguously say that humans are always going to be better gods because we're born with less, right? Because then you have Tony Stark, like. Just because he's a millionaire, he is still human, but there's nothing about him that's godly. He's just a fucking smart dude, and he wants to conquer the world and put a suit of armor around it. He wants to make all the choices for us. So I wouldn't give him the power of a god. Okay, well, I mean, dude, literally, Tony Stark is the Marvel variation of Bruce Wayne. So yeah, like that would be the equivalent to Bruce Wayne being one of the Trinity and being the speaking point for humanity. And then you have something like death metal happen because Batman wants to rule the entire universe. And again, I think we talked about this too, where we were like, dude, death metal, a Batman, surpassing everyone and making it to be a god fighting Perpetua. What kind of garbage is this? Like, it's just really weird writing. But yeah, guys, I hope you had a good time. I feel like our show went very well. I feel like Mephisto is very much explained. The only other thing I would kind of say is The only other thing about Mephisto, what I would kind of compromise would be the idea that he's kind of like the Juggernaut in the way the Juggernaut is used by Sidorak, right?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that earlier, and that's the way I kind of feel like Wanda or even Agnes may be being used, where like they're kind of like the muse of that godly character from another dimension. So that's the only other thing that I could think of that we didn't get to touch base on. Thank you, Robert. He says, great show, LOL, great show. Well, thank you, Robert. You jumped in. That was awesome, brother. Yeah. And again, thank you guys for tuning in on the show. We appreciate you guys so much. We hope you guys are enjoying WandaVision as much as we are. We hope you are being safe and that you're being awesome. Trigger, I hope you're being safe. And I hope you're enjoying Wedding Hood. Or what do you call it? Marriage. Oh shit, there's a whole word for it already, right? Yeah, it's not Wedding Hood anymore. Yeah, I like Wedding Hood though. Sounds very chivalrous. Sounds very Robin Hood-esque. Yeah, man. I feel like the WandaVision story, I think they're sticking to their guns, and I think they're doing exactly what they said. That this is going to bring in phase 4 in such an amazing way. And you want to know what's crazy? Is I really don't think Black Widow would have brought this in as hard for phase 4. Like with this being the forefront of what we're looking at for phase 4 of Marvel, I don't know how Black Widow would have competed against this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right?
I do.
Because it was supposed to come out before this.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in November.
And I think the only cool thing that probably would have came from that is what's that group that Baron Zemo runs? Well, it wasn't the New Avengers, not the Dark Avengers. There was another group that he used to run. Fuck. There used to be a bunch of con guys, and they were Avengers also. Edgar, dude, come on. Edgar, hashtag free Disney from evil. Bro, Edgar, you're killing me, man. That's funny as hell. That's super funny. Hashtag the average boys.
Well, there's Secret Empire, there's the Masters of Evil, the Thunderbolts.
That's okay. That's what it was. The Thunderbolts is the thing that I thought the only thing that would come from the Black Widow film, because there's Avengers Disassembled is practically happening. There's no more Avengers. The Avengers are all disassembled. Like everybody's gone. They've gone their own ways. There's no Thor. There's no nobody. So the only thing is you would have a bunch of villains, and you would have Thunderbolt Ross come and be like, hey, what's up, Baron Zemo? You're a piece of shit. I don't like you, but you do have some pretty good skills. Let's Suicide Squad up. Better than fucking DC did. Yeah, pretty much.
On both the iterations, because this new Suicide Squad looks trash.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, like, I thought that was the only thing that really could have came from the Black Widow film. So I'm kind of happy that they went this way. Because now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier both come out. That one comes out in March. I think it's like March 7th. So literally almost like a couple of weeks after WandaVision, I want to say maybe 1 or 2 weeks, it's supposed to come out. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Edgar, for saying that was good tonight. It's good, man. We had a good show. Yeah, but I want to say it's in March, dude. You're gonna have to.
You're probably right. I'm looking.
Yeah, because it would make a lot of sense. I know it's going to be the next thing up, and of course they're going to introduce 19th. March 2nd, right? It's coming out March
19th.
March 19th.
For Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Thank you, Myers. Thank you very much. Yeah, man. And that's in 2 months. That's literally right on the heels of WandaVision, which, of course, WandaVision is going to set up for the movie Multitude of Madness, or Multiverse of Madness. And I told Trigger, man. I told you, bro. I don't know if you know this, but America Chavez is coming out in it.
I can't fucking believe that.
I told you, right? That remember we talked about it? I told you that girl, the Chilakla or something with an X, her name? Kevin Feige admitted that she's going to be America Chavez. They did it in the investment party. They did it in the investment video. I'll have to send you the video later, but she's already written off on as America Chavez, which breaks off with the idea that they're going to be repairing the multiverse. Yeah,
I'm literally looking it up on the Marvel website.
Yeah, I know. It's something you're not going to be happy about. I know that. But then that's the same thing we talked about. Like them, we all know deep down inside, even though we don't really care about it yet, they are introducing the Young Avengers in a way. Even with the idea of then introducing Wiccan, that means sooner or later. I know that there was a guy that just put up that he's going to be a character somewhat in the WandaVision show. And a lot of people, it's this Filipino kid or like an Asian looking kid. And a lot of people think that he's actually going to be playing Hulkling. Did you see that or no on Twitter?
Yeah.
And it was like, and he's a casual dude, bulky kind of.
Yeah, but I care more about Hulkling than I do fucking America Chavez.
Well, yeah. Like, it's like I said, like none of those characters are rooted in the establishment. The only character that I would really care about is if they brought out Nova. Like Nova. That's literally it. Like literally. And you know what? In a dumb way, Amadeus Cho.
Well, they did. They actually did
with his sister
in
Age of Ultron.
In the second Hulk movie.
Did they?
Yeah. So you remember when Edward Norton he brings the pizza to Lou Ferrigno?
Yes.
And he's going to the computer lab and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And there's a kid there and he's eating the pizza. That's Amadeus Cho.
Is that supposed to be Amadeus Cho?
Yeah, that was supposed to be Amadeus Cho.
I'm totally going to go back and watch that shit now. I don't know why. I just need to go back and watch that. Well, I know for sure that in Age of Ultron, the scientist female that's in the movie, the Asian girl, is Amadeus Cho's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's already like a quick reference to Amadeus Cho. So he's already there. And we all know that he's part of the Young Avengers in the Champions team. So, but at the time, he's already the Hulk at that time. Do we know if he's going to be the Total Awesome Hulk? I don't think anytime soon, but I know that they're going to be passing the Hulk mantle to She-Hulk soon. So yeah, it is what it is. But that's for another conversation, guys. Trigger, thank you so much, brother. For pushing through another 2 hour and 27 episode. I know you're like, I'm dying, man. I'm dying. But yeah, that was fun, man. I think we pulled through very well.
Oh yeah, dude, I agree.
That was fun.
I mean, like, granted, man, I'm tired, but fucking, I really, really needed the show today.
Yeah, dude, but it was it's exciting, long ass day,
and like, dude, I literally napped for like half an hour, and like, I woke up and I was just so fucking groggy, and I was like, dude,
you can feel it, right? Like, you can feel the excitement for what's coming.
Yes,
like, you can feel the excitement for what's coming. Like, I am so stoked after episode 5 to see episode 6. And I was one of those people that got fooled by the trailer that episode 5 and 6 were coming out.
That's what I thought.
It was a guy who runs a website on YouTube that came out and said that there was going to be 2 episodes, and it totally beat my ass. I was so affected by it, but I'll wait a week for what it did with episode 5. I'll wait a week in a heartbeat. I have Attack on Titan coming out Sunday, so I'll just go back and watch that and then wait a week. Guys, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into tonight's show. To all our extraordinary listeners, we appreciate you so much. Guys, never forget, if you want us to cover anything in the sense of comic books, or is there anything that confuses you or anything you'd like us to catch up on, hit us up, comments, hit us up during the week on our Facebook. Let us know what's up or anything. I know that Trigger and I have talked about, we want to do a Power Ranger episode. We want to talk about the Power Ranger comics. I know that there was a big sale that Jason David Frank was talking about where they were selling the entire collection, which is the one that Trigger has.
Yeah, there's a Kickstarter for it, and it's like the whole collection, I think, for like $100 or some shit like that.
So that's one thing that we want to for sure talk about. For sure, we want to do a Power Ranger thing. There's a lot of attention going to them, which means there's got to be something big coming up soon.
Oh yeah, it's already started. The new
Shattered Dreams.
The current comic that just finished was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right? So you have Go-Go Power Rangers, and then you have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Both of them are done by Boom Studios. Now, a new Power Rangers series has just come out, and it's just called Mighty Morphin. That's it.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's supposed to be the continuation of MMPR.
Okay, cool. Well, I have to read them because, like I said, I was a big fan of the old cartoon, the old television show back in the day with the original Rangers. And I haven't really read them, so I got to borrow them from you or something.
On its head. I love it.
Awesome. I have to read it. I'm super excited to catch up with the Power Rangers. I thought the movies are great. I hope they do more. I love the character and the actors that they chose for the recent film, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do. And not only that, we have to have a Godzilla King Kong episode soon. We literally, but
we can
I
do like
wanna
a
get it right.
kaiju verse or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
like I want to do it right. I want to do the history of Godzilla, also with his villains all the way through the monsters, the ones that mean and are important. If I'm not mistaken, there is a Godzilla episode where Ghidorah or something with a Ghidorah. Ghidorah ends up killing like Godzilla Jr. And there's like a rivalry, and there's alien talk, and King Kong's got like burnt booty cheeks because of the axe scene, like blowing fire up his backside. Like I need a show of Godzilla and King Kong. There's so many questions. The Mecha Godzilla theories are off the chain,
and they're so fucking
bro.
like,
and then to
profound.
realize,
like they carry a lot of weight with them.
And dude, not only that, to then say that there's a multiverse theory, since they're bringing Godzilla the story and King Kong together. Now you have the King Kong from Kong Island class, which is Captain Marvel, Loki, and Nick Fury, Sam Jackson all together with Wanda and Quicksilver in the Godzilla series. Those actors coming together, like that's, well, of course, not Samuel Jackson. He called Godzilla a motherfucker and poop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called Kong a motherfucker and got squashed, which is great because I love Samuel Jackson. Always using motherfucker in a movie is so great.
Kong was like, "Does he look like a bitch?"
Yeah, you try to pow. I love that the quote of Samuel Jackson is motherfucker. Like I love that so much in every film, not in Star Wars though, or Disney, not in Disney though, or Star Wars. Guys, if you want to see something cool with Samuel Jackson, Star Wars Theory released Crystal Amethyst, which is a CG representation of the future of what happened to Mace Windu. Yeah, Mace Windu. It's a really, really cool video. It's the same guy who ran the Darth Vader fan film that got a lot of slack. It's very cool. Go check it out. This guy does it all out of pocket. You know, he takes no money. He's a fan of the series. I like stuff like that as long as they're not trying to take advantage of the shows or the films to try to make themselves like money. You know what I mean? Be safe, take care of each other. That virus, the pandemic is still out there. Be smart. I had the opportunity to go to a convention, sort of say in Edinburgh with United Collectors Expo. It went very well. I got to meet a lot of people. I got to meet a lot of people who watch the show and listen to it. I appreciate all the people that are out there that watch us and listen to us. Even out there that listen to us in Austin, guys, thank you so much in Austin, Texas for hitting us up and watching us and all over the place. We even got people from other countries. It's so crazy. Guys, we appreciate you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you again next Friday, 9 p.m. Central here on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Thank you so much to our extraordinary listeners, and we'll see you guys again next Friday. Laters.